Chapter 257, The Gains of the Group from the Secret Realm. But I admire him as much as I admire him. Chen Mobai immediately thought of the most serious problem. Where is he going to get 3 immortal tree fruits, and a standard set of small, medium, and large ones at that? The most recent record of someone from the Chen Mobai sect obtaining the fruit of the longevity tree is that of Yue Zhudao. He didn't know whether the immortality tree fruit he obtained was a small fruit, a medium fruit, or a large fruit. In other words, the only way to definitively obtain the fruit of the tree of immortality is through the magic treasure tree. However, Chen Mobai himself no longer had the means to enter the divine tree and obtain its fruit. The only hope is that the junior brothers and sisters of the Chen Mobai sect will successfully establish their foundations and enter this secret realm in the next attempt. Then another problem arose. What kind of fruit you can get from the magic tree depends entirely on luck. No one can guarantee that you will definitely get the longevity tree fruit. And even if you obtain the fruit of the tree of immortality, why should they give it to you? Chen Mobai paced back and forth in front of the talent tree, pondering how to solve this problem. Immediately, he clapped his hands, thinking of his 2 apprentices. If I fully support them in their foundation establishment, and if they can obtain the longevity tree fruit, then giving them enough spirit stones or cultivation techniques in exchange would be acceptable. However, even if the 2 of them are very lucky and manage to obtain the 2 longevity tree fruits they need from the magic treasure tree, they will still be 1 short. The first volume of this 2-phase reincarnation technique requires a complete set of small, medium, and large longevity tree fruits. After breaking through a realm by consuming the tree fruits, one must consume the entire set of fruits to achieve foundation building perfection and transform them into resources for forming the core in another cultivation method. No, it doesn't necessarily have to be a complete set. You can cultivate yourself to break through to the mid-foundation establishment stage, and then consume the medium and large fruits. But in this way, time will still be wasted. Before obtaining this 2-phase reincarnation technique, he cultivated the longevity spiritual power step by step to break through his realm, and he was able to be patient. However, now that he knows about this quick method, he is somewhat unwilling to slowly condense liquid spiritual energy and spend 20 years to break through. However, there isn't a better solution right now, so this is the only plan we can make for the time being. The next priority is to help my 2 apprentices establish their foundations. At the very least, I need to ensure they succeed in foundation establishment on their first try, so they'll have a chance to enter the divine tree secret realm. Could I help them sneak in? Or perhaps, foundation establishment cultivators who have smuggled themselves into the immortal sects have come to reap the rewards. However, Chen Mobai immediately dismissed the thought as soon as it came to mind. I would rather cultivate and improve my realm step by step than let the secret of the turtle treasure be exposed. It's just time, isn't it? He is only 24 years old now, and with the lifespan added by the Longevity Sutra, he has at least 150 years left to form his core. Next, we can try to recruit more honest and trustworthy disciples, and then collect information on foundation establishment cultivators from the Divine Tree Secret Realm, including those from the Divine Wood sect and even the 5 Elements sect, to see if anyone else besides Yue Zhudao has obtained the longevity tree fruit. Chen Mobai thought there should be one. After all, in the Heavenly River realm, due to the different atmosphere, many cultivators prefer to keep their trump cards hidden and not reveal their gains. At the same time, we should also start collecting some elixirs that can extend lifespan. After all, another side effect of consuming the fruit of the tree of immortality is that it will consume one's lifespan to break through to a higher realm. After making a plan of what needed to be done, Chen Mobai calmed down again. Only then did he remember that, after using the wood spirit talisman, he still had one more chance to exploit the talent tree. After injecting pure yang spiritual power, another secret technique fell into his brow. Bing Fire Divine Thunder Technique. It can be considered a powerful offensive spell. Once mastered, it can be made into a talisman, with the highest grade reaching the 3rd rank. Moreover, its power is extremely strong and yang, making it the nemesis of evil spirits and ghosts. However, after the immense surprise of the two-phase revolving technique, Chen Mobai no longer felt anything about this spell. While the wood spirit talisman was still active, he flew towards the great Dao tree while studying wood attribute spells. Last time he used a trick to take 10 steps. This time he plans to rely on himself and see how many steps he can take. The next day, Xian. While his two disciples were still away, Chen Mobai pondered the method of refining the wooden spirit talisman. This talisman requires 5,000 merit points to buy. He plans to give one to each of his two disciples when they enter the divine tree secret realm, and instruct them to use it in front of the magic treasure tree. Because it was too expensive, he felt it would be more cost-effective to draw it himself. A short while later, the eldest apprentice Liu Wenbai arrived. This puzzled Chen Mobai. Zhuo Ming should be at the foot of the mountain looking after Ling Tian, so logically she should have arrived first. Junior sister Zhuo went to deliver goods to the shop in Shenmu City yesterday. If she receives the message talisman, she will probably be a little late. Liu Wenbai knew that his master only cared about the supreme sword path and didn't pay much attention to these trivial matters, so he immediately spoke up to explain on behalf of his junior sister. I almost forgot to tell her about this. Chen Mobai looked enlightened. As a foundation establishment elder of the sect, in addition to the territory of Xian, he also had a courtyard and a shop in Shenmu City, which he had previously told Zhu Ming to manage. According to him, he should be selling spirit rice and spirit wine, but I don't know how the business is going. Then let's not wait for him. It's rare for your master to emerge from seclusion. Tell me about the difficulties you've encountered in your cultivation. Chen Mobai shook his head, forgetting his achievement of only 7 steps in front of the great tree yesterday. After listening, Liu Wenbai respectfully recounted some of his doubts when breaking through to the 9th level. Chen Mobai possessed the formless puppet, and last night he used a mid-grade spirit stone to rehearse Liu Wenbai's journey to foundation establishment, so he was fully aware of all the problems Liu Wenbai might encounter. After answering several questions in Liu Wenbai's mind, Chen Mobai took the initiative and asked his eldest disciple some questions that clearly existed in his cultivation, but which he himself had not noticed. When Zhuo Ming arrived at Xian, she found Liu Wenbai drenched in sweat, but sitting cross-legged in front of his master's wooden house with a look of enlightenment on his face. He's here. Under my guidance, Wenbai has had a sudden enlightenment. I estimate that he will be able to break through to the 9th level of qi refining after he wakes up. Upon hearing Chen Mobai's words, Zhuo Ming's face instantly filled with envy. In the past 6 months, she has only managed to rebuild her qi to the 4th level, and she doesn't know when she will be able to achieve qi perfection. However, Zhuo Ming was used to hardship since childhood. Although she envied Liu Wenbai's progress, she knew that she had to take it one step at a time and did not rush to make a breakthrough. She knew very well that as long as she clung to the coattails of her master, she could at least guarantee a foundation establishment pill in the future. Master, this is the bill from Xian shop. Please take a look. Chen Mobai saw the book that Zhuo Ming handed him, casually took it and glanced at it, and found that the spirit rice was selling very well. In just 6 months, all the 30 mu of land harvested last year in Xiaoyingling, after deducting the amount taken by the spirit plant department, has been sold. I earned a total of 150 low-grade spirit stones. Then I looked at the spirit wine. Half a year had passed, and only 18 jars had been sold. Did I price my teachings too high? After putting down the ledger, Chen Mobai asked Zhuo Ming with some confusion. He set the price of jade sprout spirit wine at 5 low-grade spirit stones per small jar. This price is 5 times higher than the average 1 spirit stone on the market, but his spirit wine is more than 10 times better in both taste and flavor. This has been personally verified by Sun Gaicheng and others. It is indeed overwhelmingly delicious. Logically speaking, this price isn't expensive. Master, most of the disciples of the Divine Wood sect are like me, struggling to cultivate every day by chopping spirit stones. Even those with substantial wealth are thinking about saving spirit stones to buy magic weapons or cultivation techniques. They would never be willing to spend spirit stones on food and drink. With these 5 spirit stones, wouldn't it be better to buy a bottle of pills to enhance spiritual power? Over the years, Zhuo Ming has come to know that although Chen Mobai is somewhat slow-witted in some ways, he is very easygoing and doesn't have the airs of a teacher. He is also no longer as reserved as he was at the beginning. I see. It seems my wine can only be sold in the high-end market. After listening, Chen Mobai understood completely. He looked at the ledger again and found that most of the 18 jars of wine were bought by his good friends, and they were mostly foundation establishment elders. Only people of this caliber have enough wealth to buy 2 jars of spirit wine to satisfy their appetites. Although Master's spiritual wine can promote cultivation, it cannot compare with real pills. If we can improve this aspect, it might become a hit in the low-end market. Zhuo Ming, however, had a different opinion, which was completely different from Chen Mobai's idea of making things high-end. What do Qi refining cultivators value most? Isn't it the improvement of their cultivation level? Therefore, elixirs are the best-selling and most in-demand medicines. My disciple, what do you mean? Master, I'm thinking about whether we can combine the 100 herbs pill or the nourishing spirit soup with the spirit wine to create a new wine that is not only delicious, but also helpful for cultivation, and may even help you break through to a higher realm. Chen Mobai naturally memorized the 2 elixir formulas in the 100 herbs classic that Zhuo Ming gave him when he became her disciple. There was no objection to her idea. Do you have a solution? There is a little bit of need for a trustworthy alchemist to help, otherwise your brewing recipe might be leaked, Master. Zhuo Ming made a small request. Before she became his disciple, Chen Mobai had already been helping her with brewing wine. After they became acquainted, their relationship progressed further, which goes without saying. To save himself trouble, he simply passed on all the yeast to her. Now, Chen Mobai no longer needs to take the lead in brewing Jade Bud spirit wine. Zhuo Ming can handle it all perfectly. In a few years, I estimate that it will taste even better than what he brewed. A trustworthy alchemist, I don't really have one here. They do have some from the immortal sect, but there's no way they could bring Qing Nu over. Thinking this way, Chen Mobai shook his head under his disciple's expectant gaze. Master, aren't you on good terms with Uncle Yan? Zhuo Ming reminded Chen Mobai of something. Yan Jinai, as the former chief of the alchemy department and a disciple of Zheng Wuyu, is indeed considered an outstanding alchemist in the Tianhe realm. We've only met a few times, but it's possible to keep in touch. However, she's a foundation establishment cultivator, so she definitely can't come over to help you. In the end, Chen Mobai remembered this point again and felt that it was still not very reliable. We can ask Uncle Yan to introduce some reliable senior brothers and sisters in the alchemy department. If Master puts in a good word for us, it will definitely be more respectable than me running around like crazy. Chen Mobai nodded. It was just a matter of mentioning it once. It's been a long time since I've had a get-together with Yi Yunyuan, Kai Yi, and others, so I might as well invite Yan Jinai. She should be willing to do so. These are all minor matters. Although I have entrusted you with managing the spirit fields and shops, all of this must be secondary to your own cultivation. After all, for us cultivators, achieving immortality and attaining enlightenment is the most important thing. What he meant by saying this was that Chen Mobai didn't take Zhuo Ming's suggestion seriously. He only opened that shop to sell spirit rice and spirit wine because he didn't want to waste it. The income of a few hundred spirit stones a year was barely enough for him now. Hearing this, Zhuo Ming looked enlightened and said that she would definitely focus on cultivation from now on. Next, Chen Mobai fulfilled his duties as a teacher. Compared to Liu Wenbai, Zhuo Ming, whose character is still developing, has much more potential for growth. Moreover, Zhuo Ming's cultivation level was low, and he had never encountered a teacher during his time as a solitary cultivator, leaving him with many unresolved issues. Chen Mobai usually doesn't have much time outside of seclusion, so she can only choose some important questions. Today, Chen Mobai acted out of character, saying that he had recently encountered a bottleneck in his cultivation and intended to give them some pointers, and that they should feel free to ask him any questions. I will answer any questions. Upon hearing this, Zhuo Ming's eyes lit up. She took out a thick notebook from her storage bag, containing all the questions she had accumulated since entering the world of cultivation. Some were engaged in cultivation, some in talisman making, and others in other miscellaneous elixirs and magical artifacts. She would flip through this notebook every now and then, and if she could solve the problem herself, she would cross it off. However, even today, she still has this thick book filled with doubts. Chen Mobai's face was bitter, but he had already said it, so how could he go back on his word? So the master and apprentice spent 3 days and 3 nights going through all the questions in Zhuo Ming's notes, from sunrise to sunset and back again. With Chen Mobai's level of expertise, coupled with the knowledge of a top student from the Dance Weapon Academy, he provided almost all the answers. Occasionally there are a few questions, such as how strong is a golden core ancestor? How many golden core cultivators can a nascent soul cultivator fight? Can an ascended cultivator ever return? Chen Mobai truly couldn't answer these questions. All I can say is that, although his apprentice seems a bit dull, he actually thinks quite a lot. Just then, the 2 spirit stones Liu Wenbai was holding in his palm suddenly shattered, and he opened his eyes with a look of joy on his face. Sensing the breakthrough within his body, his spiritual power, now 3 times stronger, made him want to let out a long roar. But seeing Chen Mobai and his junior sister in front of him, he forced himself to hold back. "Thank you for your guidance, Master. Haha, I only hope that you can successfully establish your foundation in one go in the future, and not waste the opportunity to enter the Divine Tree secret realm." Chen Mobai spoke from the heart, but his 2 disciples thought he was offering a blessing. By the way, our senior brother Yi and senior brother Yuan in the sect. Uncle Yi went to Yunming's to take charge of the overall situation, and Uncle Yuan just returned from his mission last month. Please arrange a meeting with him for me. Upon hearing this, Liu Wenbai immediately went to make arrangements. That evening, the 2, who hadn't seen each other for a long time, enjoyed drinks and conversation. "It's rare for you to come down from the mountain. The last time we drank together was about half a year ago, wasn't it?" Yuan Chie took the spirit wine brought by Chen Mobai, smelled it, and filled his glass with satisfaction. "Has the problem been solved with the spirit stone mine in Lei Kingdom?" Senior brother Zhou and senior brother Luo, who was guarding Lei Kingdom, put pressure on us together, and I chimed in from the sidelines. In the end, we managed to suppress the 6 major cultivation families of Lei Kingdom and take away 40% of the spirit stone mine. Yuan Che briefly explained the result, but Chen Mobai could sense the underlying tension and danger. Snatching food from a tiger's mouth and taking almost half of the profits in one bite, even if they represent the Divine Wood sect, they certainly wouldn't do it so easily. Yuan Che recounted the intricacies of alliances, coercion, and enticement while sipping his wine. At first, his tone was calm, but he became increasingly excited as he spoke, especially when he mentioned the Zhou Wang Shenai meeting with the 2 major families, the martial arts competition with the top foundation establishment cultivator in the Lei Kingdom, and how he persuaded the neighboring country's guards at the top of Hanshan Mountain to give up their probing attacks. Senior brother Zhou is truly a divine being. Although he was from Ayan, Yuan Che, through his cooperation with Lei Guo, spoke highly of King Zhou. This suggests that if this person becomes the sect leader, the Shenmu sect might be able to lead the 5 Elements sect again and unify the eastern wilderness during his lifetime. Chen Mobai listened quietly until Yuan Che finished speaking, then subtly changed the subject. "Is junior sister Yan currently at the sect? My little apprentice wants to research 2 kinds of medicinal wine and needs a trustworthy alchemist to help him. As the former chief of the alchemy department, she should have someone in mind." Having already promised, Chen Mobai naturally had to ask about it. As for junior sister Yan, She hasn't returned since she went to that Foundation establishment cave. She might be trapped by the array restrictions left behind by the cave. We can go to the Spirit Treasure Pavilion later and ask if there are any rescue missions issued by the Alchemy Department. Upon hearing this, Chen Mobai nodded. Sure enough, his decision to remain unmoved and not go treasure hunting was the right one. After all, the atmosphere in the Tian realm is such that the cave dwellings left by the predecessors are mostly full of traps, and some rogue cultivators even specialize in setting up such traps. That's a real pity. I hope junior sister Yan is safe and sound. After saying that, Chen Mobai put Yan Jinai out of his mind. I felt a bit unlucky about this person, and if he were to return to his sect in the future, it would be best to avoid contact with him. As for Zhu Ming's medicinal wine, let her study it on her own. By the way, senior brother Yuan, I wonder what kind of opportunity you obtained in the Divine Tree secret realm. I was lucky enough to obtain the seed of the Azure Yang fire. Chen Mobai then brought up the important matter of inviting Yuan Chai for drinks today. He first spoke frankly about the fruits he had harvested. If it's you, then I won't hide it from you. It was a gourd of sap from the tree of immortality. I didn't have much use for it, so I sold it to senior brother Joe when I was in Lei Kingdom. I won't reveal the price to you, but it not only paid off all my debts, but it was also enough for me to buy all the pills I needed to cultivate up to the mid-foundation establishment stage. Yuan Che trusted Chen Mobai very much, and told him about the opportunity he obtained on the magic tree in the Divine Tree secret realm. Oh, congratulations! I wonder what the other senior brothers and sisters obtained in the secret realm. Chen Mobai had been subtly probing, not really expecting much, but Yuan Che gave him a pleasant surprise. I'm telling you, you absolutely must not tell anyone. Yuan Che hesitated for a moment, but finally, after Chen Mobai poured him a full cup of spirit wine, he revealed what he knew. Senior brother Zhou Wangshan made a deal with senior brother Wu and junior sister Yan in order to cultivate the longevity body. Senior brother Zhou also contributed to the latter two's success in establishing their foundations. Before entering the Divine Tree secret realm, they all made a vow of Tao and an agreement. If they obtained the sap of the tree of immortality, they had to sell it to senior brother Zhou. So senior brother Joe knew about their gains in the secret realm and told me about it when he traded the sap of the tree of immortality with me. Senior brother Wu and I both got a gourd of longevity tree sap, which we sold directly to senior brother Joe. But junior sister Yan was very unlucky. She actually got a longevity tree fruit. At this point, Yuan Che looked regretful. Everyone in the Divine Wood sect knows about the enormous side effects of the longevity tree fruit. These true disciples who successfully established their foundations on their first attempt all believed they had a sliver of hope of forming their core, so naturally they wouldn't consume this fruit, thus shortening their own lifespan and ruining their future. Therefore, Yan Jinai did not want to consume the longevity tree fruit in her possession, and no one from the Divine Wood sect wanted to buy it. If it were left out in the open, some ignorant people might rush to buy it. But none of these people had much wealth. If it were to be auctioned by a major merchant guild, all the positive and negative effects of the longevity tree fruit would have to be clearly stated, and a vow of Tao heart would have to be made to ensure there was no deception. In that case, it certainly won't fetch a good price. It was precisely for this reason that Yuan Che, who had earned 100,000 spirit stones from Zhou Wangshan, felt very sorry for Yan Jinai's gains in the Divine Tree secret realm. This is really bad luck. Upon hearing this, Chen Mobai gritted his teeth and uttered the last 4 words. His expression was slightly strange, but Yuan Chai just assumed he had drunk too much and was seeing things. Come on, let's have another drink. I'm going into seclusion in a few days and probably won't come out until the end of the year. Let's drink to our heart's content today. Yuan Chai bought enough pills for his cultivation for a year. It was a coincidence that Chen Mobai came to see him today. If it had been a couple of days later, the two might not have met. After finishing his drink, Chen Mobai asked about the location of the alchemy department before leaving. Why are you asking this? I fell into a coma after I came out of the secret realm, and junior sister Yan took good care of me for a while. She hasn't returned for half a year now, and I'm very worried about her. I was thinking of asking her master, Minister Zheng, if I could do something to help. Hearing this, Yuan Che was very puzzled. When I said that before, I didn't see any change in your expression. Why are you suddenly so concerned after drinking? This chapter is 6,000 words long, so it's a bit late. I've updated with over 10,000 words today. Please subscribe to support me. I currently have over 2,700 subscribers, just over 200 more per day than I need to reach the featured mark. Please support me. Thank you. End of this chapter. Chapter 258, Lonely Soul Ridge. Chapter 258, Lonely Soul Ridge. After saying goodbye to Yuan Che, Chen Mobai went to Lingbao Pavilion first. As a foundation establishment elder, he was naturally different from those qi refining disciples who had to accept tasks in the hall and verify their cultivation level. The alchemy department's mission for junior sister Yan, what bad luck, it was just taken by a senior uncle. The Lingbao Pavilion had a qi refining disciple who was specifically responsible for receiving Chen Mobai. After listening to his request, they did some research and came up with a result that surprised him. There really is one, and other people are paying attention to it. Oh, which senior brother is it? I can't reveal that. If you really want to know, you can ask the sect leader. The qi refining disciple in front of him looked apologetic. Because there had been many instances of fellow disciples plotting against each other, like the oriole catching the cicada, the Lingbao Pavilion was quite strict about controlling information in this regard. If Chen Mobai wants to know, he can explain the situation to the person in charge of Lingbao Pavilion, and then report it to the higher-ups and wait for their approval. Chen Mobai naturally wouldn't do something so troublesome. After leaving Lingbao Pavilion, he returned to his courtyard in Shenmu City. Originally, Liu Wenbai came along, but considering that he had just broken through to the 9th level of qi refining and needed to consolidate his realm, Chen Mobai brought Zhuo Ming instead. The young apprentice hadn't rested yet. He was drawing talismans under the moonlight. After giving her a few pointers, Chen Mobai told her about Yan Jinai's situation and said he would try to find a solution. If it were before, he certainly wouldn't have cared about Yan Jinai's safety. But after learning from Yuan Che that she had a longevity tree fruit, Chen Mobai felt that he still had to find a way to save her. Although the task was accepted, it was certain that the person who issued the task was the head of the alchemy department. Chen Mobai and Zheng Wuyu had met once before, and the latter was deeply impressed by him as a peerless sword genius. He sent a visiting card the next day. Chen Mobai met the #1 alchemy master of the divine, would sect without any trouble. As for Xiao Yan, she's not in any danger right now because she left a life token with me. But I was really worried about her not coming back for so long, so I issued her a mission. Zheng Wuyu trusted Chen Mobai quite a bit. After all, as the first peerless genius in the history of the Shenmu sect to take 10 steps in front of the great Tao tree, he believed that this junior brother was very likely to form a core. Therefore, although he was a top figure in the Divine Wood sect as a third-level alchemist, he was very polite to Chen Mobai, a junior who had just established his foundation. I missed junior sister Yan's invitation because I was in seclusion cultivating the sword. Now I really regret it. If I had gone with her back then, maybe I would have had more strength and this wouldn't have happened. Chen Mobai's words were also full of regret and remorse. Zheng Wuyu listened, his mind filled with doubt. He wondered were his disciple and this junior really that close. Junior brother Bai Yiyuan and junior brother Shan Hongyi have taken on this task issued by the alchemy department. If junior brother Chen also wants to contribute, I will not refuse. Zheng Wuyu told Chen Mobai that the person who accepted the mission was not one person, but two. He didn't know Bai Yiyuan, but he had met Shan Hongyi once before. Back then, he had come to Jumu Ridge from Nangxi Market in Yun Kingdom by taking Shan Hongyi's airship. What is the cultivation level of these two senior brothers? Chen Mobai went straight to the most crucial question. Junior brother Bai Yiyuan is at the peak of the early foundation establishment stage, but he is a body-tempering cultivator, and his strength is enough to fight against the mid-foundation establishment stage, which is no small matter. Junior brother Shan Hongyi, on the other hand, is a genuine mid-foundation establishment stage cultivator. If he hadn't wanted me to refine a batch of pills, he wouldn't have been persuaded to go out. In other words, it's equivalent to two mid-foundation establishment stage cultivators going to rescue someone. It has to be said that Zheng Woyu, the #1 alchemy master of the Shenmu sect, has a lot of influence. Junior brother Chen, although your cultivation is not as high as theirs, your combat power as a 4th-level sword cultivator is above theirs. If you make a move, I am willing to offer you a sword-shaped grass that I have cultivated in my herb field for 100 years as a reward. Sword-shaped grass, what is that? Chen Mobai hesitated for a moment, thinking that it might be very helpful for sword cultivators, but he didn't really want it. After all, he had no doubts beyond the realm of sword cultivation. He was just waiting for the Azure Sun Fire Seed to mature so that he could condense the Azure Flame Sword Aura. If I don't want the sword-shaped grass, can I choose other spiritual herbs as a reward? It just so happens that Chen Mobai possesses a rare medicinal fruit that he desperately needs. Bamboo fruit. Zheng Woyu was slightly surprised after hearing Chen Mobai's request. This is a rare medicinal herb used in alchemy. It is usually used as the main ingredient in detox pills or taken directly to enhance spiritual awareness. However, there are better alternative elixirs for detoxification and enhancing spiritual awareness. Moreover, it is rare for someone to cultivate Solomon's seal for nearly 100 years just to produce a single bamboo fruit. I don't cultivate this in my herb garden, but there are plenty of mature jade bamboos in the green bamboo mountain of the sect. If we use a special secret method to accelerate their growth, we can make them grow bamboo fruits. As a master alchemist, Zheng Woyu knew exactly which medicinal herbs and plants were grown in which medicinal fields in Giant Wood Ridge. He is also an expert in spiritual plants and has methods for promoting the growth of bamboo fruit. I wonder if that's all right. Upon hearing this, Chen Mobai asked a question. Half a year has passed, and due to his diligent cultivation of the void-piercing spirit eye, he has only a small half-bottle of the clear-eye bamboo spirit dew left, which is about to be used up. This spiritual liquid can also be used to enhance one's spiritual sense. During this period, another green bud sprouted from the green-tongue tree in his sea of consciousness, and his progress was rapid. For Chen Mobai, the clear-eye bamboo dew is the most suitable elixir for him at this stage. Therefore, he still hopes to continue taking the medication. Unfortunately, the news of his acquisition of bamboo fruit at Lingbao Pavilion has been posted for half a year, but no one has shown any interest. I just mentioned it casually today, but I didn't expect it to actually be of interest. No problem, I'll handle things at Green Bamboo Mountain. The price of bamboo fruit is usually 350 spirit stones. I paid my 2 junior brothers about 1,000 spirit stones in total. How about you treat it as 3 bamboo fruits? As soon as Zheng Woyu finished speaking, Chen Mobai nodded. That's settled then. Lonely Soul Ridge. It is a very ordinary mountain in the eastern part of the Rain Kingdom. If it weren't for the fact that the life tablet left by Yan Jinai pointed this way, Chen Mobai and the other two would never have believed that there would be a foundation establishment cultivator's cave hidden here. Master, the chi-regulating disc has started spinning erratically. Above Lonely Soul Ridge, on an airship, a young man in black held a brass plate in one hand, on which a copper spoon began to spin wildly, as if the target was moving rapidly in all directions. It seems that this place has a natural topography, which, combined with the acquired array formations, has sealed off all the Earth's spiritual energy, turning this place into a terrifying forbidden zone. The middle-aged man speaking had a thick beard and was none other than Shan Hongyi, whom Chen Mobai had met once before. The young man in black beside him was Yu Lion, who had joined the Shenmu sect with Chen Mobai years ago. I had heard before that after he left Xinjiang, he became a disciple of Shan Hongyi and seemed to be focusing on his cultivation. He was not seen in the sect competitions in the past few years. Today, I was surprised to find that he has already reached the 9th level of qi refining, and it seems that he did not just break through. He may be able to reach the qi refining perfection level in another year or two. Shall we just go in? The one who said this was another foundation establishment cultivator, Bai Yiyuan. He had a rough face, a bald head, and no eyebrows. Standing there, he was like a heat source, full of vigor and vitality. Junior sister, Yan left the mountain gate with senior sister Mei from the spirit vein department. If this foundation establishment cave below can trap the two of them, we should be a little more cautious. As Shan Hongyi spoke, he took out a talisman, infused it with spiritual power, and sent it flying towards Lonely Soul Ridge below. Chen Mobai took a look and realized it was a message talisman. After a moment's thought, one can't help but admire the experience of the seasoned Shan Hongyi. This communication talisman can track down the nameplates of Shenmu sect disciples within a certain range. If Yan Jinai is indeed trapped in the Lonely Soul Ridge below, this is the most convenient and fastest way to contact her. As expected, the message talisman was not affected by the surrounding earth vein spiritual energy and formations. It flew directly to Yan Jinai's divine Wood sect nameplate and disappeared into a hidden cave on the south side of Lonely Soul Ridge. What's the next step? Should we just barge in? Bai Yiyuan asked, his words somewhat rash. However, Chen Mobai felt that this person, who had cultivated to such a level, could not possibly be that kind of person. It was probably just his disguise. Junior brother Chen, what do you think? Bai Yiyuan suddenly asked Chen Mobai again. The three met up with Zheng Woyu's introduction and introduced themselves to each other. After boarding the airship, Chen Mobai kept quiet as much as possible, indicating that he would listen to his two senior brothers in everything. Senior brother Shan can make the decision. Chen Mobai knew that, although he might be good at fighting, he lacked experience in a dangerous place like the Tianhe realm. It was better to follow the orders of veterans like Shan Hongyi. Let's wait and see if my junior sister replies. After the two finished speaking, Shan Hongyi finally spoke. The message talisman can reply once. If it can really be delivered to Yan Jinai, then we must find out what is going on in her cave. Good. The three reached a consensus. You lion, go ask around the area and see if there are any legends or strange stories about Lonely Soul Ridge. Shan Hongyi then instructed his disciples to inquire about the news, and Yu Lion immediately nodded in agreement. I'll take him with me, it'll make things faster. Chen Mobai suddenly spoke, causing everyone present to be slightly taken aback. However, considering that Yu Lion has not yet established his foundation and cannot fly, it would indeed be convenient for Chen Mobai to take him along. Then I'll have to trouble you, junior brother Chen. Of course. Chen Mobai smiled and activated his crimson cloud smoke robe. A pale red cloud of smoke appeared in the air, and he took the lead and stepped onto it. Yu Lion hesitated for a moment, but still followed him carefully and landed on the cloud. Junior brother's magic weapon is quite novel. Shan Hongyi and Bai Yiyuan had never seen a cloud-shaped magical artifact like the crimson cloud smoke robe before, and they couldn't help but admire it. Chen Mobai smiled but didn't say anything. He led the fish towards a nearby place with spiritual energy. Uncle Master Chen, do you have something to say to me? Standing atop the misty clouds, Yu Lion looked at Chen Mobai and spoke hesitantly. After all, we are from the same place and have a sense of kinship. Besides, I don't have much to talk about with my two senior brothers while I'm on the airship, so I might as well come out with you. Uncle Chen suppressed 3,000 qi refining disciples of the sect with a single sword strike. He successfully established his foundation in just 4 years after entering the sect. He is like the sun and the moon in the sky. I never expected that he would still remember me, a mere fellow villager. Yu Lion meant to express his flattery, but his expressionless face and calm tone left Chen Mobai at a loss for words. Back then, our group was assigned to senior brother Yi Yun by the sect. However, after I left Xinya Tang, I went a farm to avoid trouble. It's also very good that you became senior brother Shan's disciple. As for the remaining Luo siblings, there are foundation establishment cultivators from their family within the sect. Upon hearing this, Yu Lion frowned, unsure of what Chen Mobai was trying to say. If I hadn't broken through to the foundation establishment stage first, even if I were to farm, I would probably still have to go to Yunmeng Marsh to risk my life for the sect. You're at the 9th level of qi refining now. Why don't you participate in the sect's grand competition? In order to make a name for oneself. Yu Lion said something that surprised Chen Mobai slightly, and then he smiled. Perhaps it's possible with you. It could have been possible, but after you came into my life, no matter how amazing I become, I can never reach your level. Yu Lion sighed. Chen Mobai was slightly speechless upon hearing this. Indeed, the standard he set in the true lineage of the Divine Wood sect is basically unmatched, and even unparalleled. There is a cultivator there. Suddenly, the brass plate in Yu Lion's hand pointed in a direction, and Chen Mobai immediately carried him there. If you are able to enter the Divine Tree secret realm in the future, and if you obtain any valuable items that you don't need, you can sell them to me. The two of them consulted several cultivators in the vicinity and inquired about the situation at Lonely Soul Ridge. On their way back, Chen Mobai subtly mentioned something. Yu Lion looked surprised upon hearing this. You think I can successfully establish my foundation on the first try? Among those of us who joined the Divine Wood sect, your talent is widely recognized as the most outstanding. If I can do it, you certainly can too. Chen Mobai said something that made Yu Lion's expression change slightly. Junior brother Chen, please take a look at junior sister Yan's reply. After the two returned to the airship, Shan Hongyi handed a piece of paper to Chen Mobai. The cave's owner has transformed himself into a silver-armored corpse. My senior sister Mei and I cannot leave even for a moment to suppress it. We request that the 3 senior brothers prepare some extremely yang and powerful magical artifacts or talismans before entering. End of this chapter. Chapter 259, Flying Netherworld Taoist. Chapter 259, Flying Netherworld Taoist. What did you find? While Chen Mobai was reading Yan Jinai's reply, Shan Hongyi also asked about his apprentice. Reporting to Master, Uncle Chen and I asked some cultivators in the vicinity. According to them, 100 years ago, Lonely Soul Ridge was the cave dwelling of a foundation establishment cultivator named Flying Nether Taoist. He was skilled in formations and corpse-driving techniques. Before his mysterious disappearance, he had the cultivation level of the mid-foundation establishment stage, and had even fought against a late foundation establishment cultivator and escaped unscathed. He was a notorious figure among rogue cultivators. Although this place is a second-tier spiritual vein, it was once an ancient battlefield and tomb. The corpse energy polluted the veins, so after the disappearance of Taoist faming, no cultivators were willing to come and explore it. After Yu Lion finished recounting the information he had gathered, Shan Hongyi nodded and looked at Chen Mobai and Bai Yiyuan. Do you two junior brothers have any suggestions? I'll listen to my senior brother. Chen Mobai repeated his previous statement, and Bai Yiyuan nodded in agreement. Well, if Fei Ming Dao Ren was in the mid-foundation establishment stage before his death, after being transformed into a zombie, he would at most recover to the foundation establishment stage in a mere 100 years. The 3 of us working together are more than enough to suppress him. What Shan Hongyi meant by saying this was that the next step was to break in. Not bad, there are 2 junior sisters inside. If the 5 of us at the foundation establishment stage make a move, unless this flying nether Taoist evolves into a golden armor corpse, he will become a test for my body tempering. Bai Yiyuan spoke with great confidence. Of the 3, only Chen Mobai smiled and remained silent. You stay outside. If there are any unexpected situations, such as if we haven't come out for a long time, immediately return to the sect to report this matter. Before going in, Shan Hongyi asked Yu Lion to stay behind, and the latter was naturally happy to do so. After all, he hasn't reached the foundation establishment stage yet. If he gets caught in the aftershocks of a fight between Foundation establishment cultivators, he could very well get injured. I'll clear the way. Bai Yiyuan decisively rushed into the cave first, and Chen Mobai followed him in second. The lighting in the heavenly river realm uses luminous pearls, which are supreme treasures for mortals, but for cultivators, they are just ordinary spiritual objects. As soon as Chen Mobai entered the cave, he felt a sinister aura. With a slight frown, the crimson cloud-like veil on his wrist dispersed, transforming into a faint cloud that enveloped the three of them. Bai Yiyuan and Shan Hongyi were stunned for a moment when they saw this scene. Junior brother, the three of us are not very familiar with each other's magical abilities and artifacts. Just take care of yourself. Upon hearing this, Chen Mobai realized that this was the prevailing social atmosphere in the heavenly river realm. I can't help but sigh that even among fellow disciples, there's a lack of trust. But he was certainly willing to accept good advice and bring the mist and clouds back to his own side. A layer of bronze light emanated from Bai Yiyuan's skin, and his whole body radiated a faint warmth of blood energy. Wherever he passed, the cold and yin energy dissipated, making Chen Mobai and Shan Hongyi, who were following behind him, feel very comfortable. The three soon came to a fork in the road. Normally, we would need to split up our forces. But Shan Hongyi sent out another message talisman. Follow this talisman, and you will be able to find junior sister Yan. Without him saying anything, Bai Yiyuan had already rushed into the left cave entrance. Chen Mobai frowned slightly as he began to smell a faint stench. Are we almost at the lair of that silver-armored corpse? You beast! Just as he entered the cave, he suddenly heard Bai Yiyuan shout, followed by a flash of bronze light, and a rotting skull wearing a helmet flew over. With a flash of red light, Chen Mobai's thoughts shifted, and the mist and clouds around his body transformed into a clapper, knocking away the zombie head that Bai Yiyuan had just slapped away. It seems this place is a natural breeding ground for corpses. Shan Hongyi's voice came from behind, and at the same time a flame lit up, turning into a long, crimson fire serpent that turned the three-headed zombie that had awakened from the mud on the cave wall into ashes. Did junior sister Yan really pass through here? Chen Mobai activated his void eye and looked around the cave, finding no signs of a recent battle. It seems we need to be more careful. Since this flying nether Taoist was skilled in formations in his lifetime, he might have altered the passageway to his lair. The communication talisman will only follow the shortest route to junior sister Yan. This rigid weakness is easy to exploit. As Shan Hongyi spoke, Chen Mobai also unleashed two crimson flame three-sword talismans. Amidst the crisscrossing six-sword energies and the flashing purple fire sword light, the zombies that had awakened on both sides of the cave were completely wiped out. What's next, charge in or retreat? Ahead of the two, Bai Yiyuan was not to be outdone. He had somehow taken out a fine iron mace from his storage bag and with a few swings, smashed several zombies into pieces. Charge, with our strength, we can easily raise this cave. Dan Hongyi's eyes sharpened, and as the faint light of the communication talisman was about to disappear before his eyes, he immediately made a decision. Okay, you guys follow. Upon hearing this, Bai Yiyuan swung his spiked club, smashing the six zombies blocking his way away. His entire body glowed with a bronze light, making him appear like a bronze statue charging forward. Chen Mobai and Shan Hongyi simultaneously unleashed their talismans, and after the fire snakes and sword energy cleared the area, they caught up at top speed. Bang, bang, bang. The three of them traveled and killed their way through the area. Amidst the ear-piercing sound of bones shattering, flames and sword energy clashed, and the air was filled with the stench of corpses, burnt smells, and the stench of mud, causing the three of them to involuntarily switch to internal breathing. I don't know how many I killed, but after crossing a distance of about 100 meters, finally no more zombies appeared. Chen Mobai breathed a slight sigh of relief. Although the problem was solved with just talismans and the loss of spiritual energy was minimal, the number of talismans was still far too many. He felt that he had helped at least 50 or 60 animals pass on to the afterlife. This is the lowest grade of iron corpse among zombies. It can be refined from a person who was ferocious in life and buried in a corpse-raising place. A cultivator at the 7th level of qi refining can easily deal with it. As Shan Hongyi began to speak, just as Chen Mobai was wondering why he was explaining this to him, a series of dull thuds sounded. Suddenly, the spiked club that Bai Yiyuan had thrown suddenly flew back and crashed into the cave, making the whole mountain seem to shake. Chen Mobai unfurled his misty clouds, deflecting the falling dust and stones. "Hey, this bronze-armored corpse is well made. It's quite strong." Bai Yiyuan's voice came, followed by 2 scarlet eyes that lit up in the dust, and then a burst of golden copper light, accompanied by a series of crackling sounds, like the violent collision of copper and iron blocks. The sound assaulted Chen Mobai's eardrums. With a ripping sound, with a sound of flesh and bones being torn apart, Chen Mobai activated his void eye and saw through the dust that Bai Yiyuan had torn a bronze-armored corpse in two. Generally speaking, a bronze-armored corpse is equivalent to the late stage of qi refining. In addition, it has copper skin and iron bones, is immune to ordinary spells, and has immense strength. Even a sect disciple at the peak of qi refining might not be able to defeat it. Shan Hongyi's voice rang out beside him, and Chen Mobai nodded slightly. The fact that it could withstand several blows from a Foundation establishment cultivator, who had undergone body tempering before being torn apart, shows how powerful the copper armor corpse was. At that moment, 2 more scarlet eyes lit up in the dust. Another bronze-armored corpse. To Chen Mobai's right, as if sensing that his aura was weakest, someone moved like the wind, their hands like sharp claws rushing towards him. With a gentle pat on the storage pouch at his waist, a cyan flying sword shot out like a swimming fish, lightly slicing across the neck of the bronze-armored corpse. In an instant, the bronze-armored corpse that rushed in front of Chen Mobai was decapitated. While still propelled by inertia, the body crashed into the crimson clouds and smoke garland, colliding with the scorching fire. Jade crystal fragments, sparks flew, and then burst into flames, emitting a strong stench of corpses. Meanwhile, Shan Hongyi released a clear breeze talisman, blowing the dust in the cave into a cloud and clearing away the visual obstruction. But seeing it made my heart sink. Before they knew it, 10 bronze-armored corpses had surrounded them. Their eyes were open, and their scarlet gazes, filled with a thirst for flesh and blood, were coldly fixed on them. "Junior brothers, there's no need to hold back. Junior sister Yan might be in danger." Upon seeing this, Shan Hongyi's relaxed state of mind became slightly serious, and he took out a crimson flying sword from his storage bag. Since the flying nether Taoist has 12 bronze-armored corpses, he must have also had silver-armored corpses in his previous life. Furthermore, since he transformed himself into a silver-armored corpse, there was no way Yan Jinai and Mei Jingjun, both in the early stages of Foundation establishment, could survive here for more than half a year. Rumble. Even though the 3 Foundation establishment cultivators of the divine would sect attacked simultaneously, and the 10 bronze-armored corpses formed a battle formation and absorbed the yin energy of the earthly fiends to fuel their ferocity, they were still utterly defeated after all 3 of them unleashed their magical artifacts. Bai Yiyuan, having regained his grip on the spiked club, smashed the 3-headed bronze-armored zombie into pieces. Meanwhile, Chen Mobai and Shan Hongyi simultaneously unleashed the Crimson Flame Sword technique with their 2 flying swords, their fiery sword light spreading across the sky and transforming into a long rainbow of sword energy that covered all the remaining zombies. After the sword rainbow cascaded down, it left only gray-black marks on the cave walls. After the 3 stopped holding back, nothing could stop them. Following the newly activated communication talisman, they broke through 3 cave walls and killed at least 100 iron corpses before finally reaching a huge, open cavern 4 or 500 meters underground. "3 senior brothers over here." As the 3 landed, they heard a surprised and delighted voice. Upon closer inspection, one discovers that right in the center of this cave is a clear pool of water. In the center of the pool, there was a white jade altar with an ebony coffin on it. The coffin was supposed to be nailed shut, but someone opened it and the lid was half opened, revealing a corpse inside wearing a silver robe with its eyes closed. A yellow paper and cinnabar talisman was pasted between the eyebrows of the corpse, which should be a corpse-suppressing spell. There was also a colorful lotus lamp placed next to the head, but unfortunately the wick seemed to have burned out and there was no light. This is the corpse of Taoist faming. He turned himself into a zombie. Fortunately, Madame Guo had a second-tier golden jade axe, otherwise we might already be in grave danger. Beside the coffin on the altar, 3 Foundation establishment female cultivators sat upright, and it was Yan Jinai who spoke. She and another female cultivator stretched out their hands and poured their spiritual power into the talisman between the silver-armored corpse's eyebrows, suppressing the zombie's awakening. The last woman, a veiled, voluptuous beauty, manipulated a magical artifact, cutting off the flow of malevolent energy back towards the altar. When Chen Mobai and the other 2 landed, they saw that the silver-armored corpse had been slashed in the chest by a jade axe. However, there was no blood in the wound, only the white bone and the torn flesh were visible. Junior brother Chen, you help them deal with this silver-armored corpse. Leave the rest to junior brother Bai and me. Shan Hongyi gave instructions on the task, and Chen Mobai nodded slightly. Anything else? Are there any other silver-armored corpses? Those who can cultivate to the Foundation establishment stage are not easy people. With just one sentence, that beautiful woman deduced their guess. Yes, in this cave, besides Taoist faming himself, there should be another silver-armored corpse that he cultivated during his lifetime. As they were speaking, a sneer came from inside the coffin. Chen Mobai and the other 2 changed their expressions and simultaneously attacked Fei Ming Dao Ren. However, the colorful lotus lanterns lit up with a burst of light, transforming into a barrier of light that blocked all their attacks. I never expected that my little underworld would be able to attract 5 Foundation establishment cultivators. Another sound came from above, and streaks of silver-gray light descended from the sky, transforming into zombies that slammed down on a tall general wearing a helmet and wielding a broadsword. Without a doubt, this is a silver-armored corpse. Only the silver-armored corpses can possess the same rationality as normal people. Who are you? Do you think you have a chance against the 6 of us? Shan Hongyi stroked his beard, and while probing with his words, he took out a compass-shaped magical artifact from his storage bag. Me, you've come to my cave, and you don't even know who I am. The silver-armored corpse wielding a battle sword uttered a statement that made everyone frown. You're the flying nether Taoist. That's impossible. Heh, nothing is impossible. You know nothing about the Yellow Springs Great Law. The one who spoke was the silver-armored corpse that was suppressed inside the ebony coffin. Although he could not move, his abdomen vibrated and he made a sound. Oh no, let go of me. Just then, Shan Hongyi noticed something and shouted at Yan Jinai and Mei Jingjun, who were continuously channeling spiritual energy into the talisman between the silver-armored corpse's eyebrows. But it was too late. The talisman that suppressed the corpse ignited in the middle and turned to ashes in an instant. The silver-robed corpse inside the ebony coffin grinned, its tightly closed eyes opening to reveal slightly dark gold pupils that sent a shiver down everyone's spine. An incredibly terrifying aura erupted from the coffin. The 3 women, Yan Jinai and her companions, who were already on the verge of death, coughed up blood and flew backward. Oh no, he must have swallowed a corpse bead from a golden-armored corpse before he died, which is why he was able to transform his form within a short period of 100 years, and already has some characteristics of a golden-armored corpse. Upon seeing this scene, the well-informed Shan Hongyi's expression changed drastically. Old man, you know quite a lot. The silver-armored corpse, floating in midair and holding a battle sword, looked at Shan Hongyi with surprise. Junior sisters, retreat. Without hesitation, Shan Hongyi threw 2 bottles of pills at Yan Jinai and Mei Jingjun, then flung a handful of talismans towards the white jade altar, which flew directly upwards. But as soon as he flew up, he was stopped by a sword that slashed down from the sky. Bai Yiyuan, however, did something that Chen Mobai did not expect. He swung his spiked club and smashed it down hard on Madame Guo, whom he had just saved from the white jade altar. With a clang, the jade-handled golden axe flew out, blocking Bai Yiyuan's attack, but Madame Guo coughed up blood, staining a large part of her veil red. "Senior Brother Bai, what are you doing?" Yan Jinai was shocked and was about to dissuade Bai Yiyuan from killing him when Mei Jingjun pulled her back. "Don't you understand yet? There's something wrong with her." Chen Mobai was initially confused, but after hearing Mei Jingjun's words, he frowned and quietly began to look for a way out. End of this chapter. Chapter 260, The Great Netherworld Array. Chapter 260, The Great Netherworld Array. Your Shenmu sect is unworthy of being a major sect in the eastern wilderness. Do you intend to use this as an excuse to kill me and plunder the spiritual property of my Guo family? After Madame Guo blocked Bai Yiyuan's attack with her golden jade axe, she coughed up blood. Her originally gentle eyebrows instantly became sharp, and her snow-white hands took out 2 purple-gold lead pellets from her belt. She injected spiritual power into them, and faint golden arcs of electricity flowed and jumped around. Purple-gold divine thunder. Upon seeing the 2 lead pellets in Madame Guo's hand, Bai Yiyuan, who was originally planning to deliver another blow, immediately stopped in his tracks. Although Chen Mobai didn't know what these things were, he could sense the immense spiritual power contained within the 2 small pills. They were probably similar to the hand grenades from the immortal sects. "Madame Guo, after the 3 of us entered this place, you used the golden jade axe to attack and awaken the silver armor corpse, and then guided junior sister Yan and me to inject our spiritual power into the corpse-suppressing curse to help the silver armor corpse break the seal. How do you explain this?" Mei Jingjun was a woman with slightly yellow skin and a well-proportioned figure. Her words caused everyone present to look at the pale-faced Madame Guo with suspicion. "Don't forget, you were the ones who invited me." Although Madame Guo's gaze was icy, she remained composed and refuted him word by word. However, Chen Mobai understood her feelings, since everyone present except her was from the Shenmu sect. If everyone agrees that she is the one with the problem, they can completely destroy the evidence and then divide up her storage bag. She had no choice but to be extremely careful. "Let's go first, it's not worth wasting time on her." At this moment, Bai Yiyuan looked solemnly at Fei Mingdao Ren, who was slowly rising from the ebony pavilion. Having completely transformed into a silver-armored corpse, his skin shimmered with a dazzling silvery sheen, making him stand out like a moon in the underground cavern environment. A clanging sound came from above. Dan Hongyi was already going all out, wielding his crimson flying sword like a fiery serpent, engaging in a thrilling battle with the silver-armored corpse that had occupied the only ascent route. One of you was indeed assigned to break the corpse-suppressing curse. With his face covered in silver powder, the flying nether Taoist held a 5-colored lotus lantern in his right hand and uttered a sentence that caused everyone present to change their expression slightly. "It really was you." Yan Jinai was startled upon hearing this, then glared angrily at Madame Guo, who sneered coldly but did not argue further. She simply held the 2 lead pellets in her hand and coldly looked at everyone present. "Be careful, this could be a psychological tactic by the enemy." At this moment, Chen Mobai finally spoke. Having observed for so long, he hadn't yet discovered anything wrong, but compared to the unknown whether the undercover agent was real or fake, his primary objective now was to leave this cave. "Let's get out of here first, no matter what." As soon as Chen Mobai finished speaking, everyone nodded in agreement. "Junior sisters, which way did you come in?" Bai Yiyuan took out a full suit of armor from his storage bag, quickly put it on, and fully armed himself. "There is an underground passage at the bottom of this lake. We can use the underground current to go to another cave. After traveling several kilometers from there, we can leave this lonely soul ridge." As soon as Yan Jinai finished speaking, Fei Mingdao Ren sneered, landed on the white jade altar, and stomped his foot heavily. In an instant, the earth shook and the mountains trembled. One stalactite after another fell down, forcing Chen Mobai and the others to use various methods to either defend or dodge. Oh no, he's going to collapse the underground passageway. Yan Jinai instantly understood Fei Mingdao Ren's purpose. She summoned her magical artifact, a medicine hoe that Chen Mobai had seen before, in an attempt to stop Fei Mingdao Ren. However, the five-colored lotus lantern ignited a flame, and an invisible light barrier reappeared, freezing her medicine hoe in midair. Then Taoist Fei Ming reached out and grasped, and a silvery gray corpse aura instantly covered the medicine hoe. With a crisp clanging sound, the hoe lost all its magic and fell into the lake. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. The sharp sound of three sword energies piercing the air rang out, forming the number 3 in midair. Just as the wick of the five-colored lotus lantern went out, they struck Fei Mingdao Ren's brow, neck, and heart like thunderbolts. However, the crimson sword energy, powerful enough to cut through gold and jade, could only leave a scorched mark on the silver-gray skin. This is because the crimson flame sword talisman that Chen Mobai used was of the fire attribute. If it had been something else, it probably wouldn't have left a trace at all. Boom! Before Chen Mobai could make his move, Bai Yiyuan, who had also seized the opportunity when the light of the five-colored lotus lantern disappeared, swung his spiked club and smashed it heavily against Fei Mingdao Ren. However, his body movement speed was not as fast as the sword energy, so he only managed to attack Fei Mingdao Ren after the crimson flame sword energy was blocked. Faced with the imposing and clearly different spiked club, Fei Mingdao Ren seemed unwilling to take any risks. He opened his mouth and spat out a golden bead, which, like a marble, actually blocked Bai Yiyuan's full-force swing. Fei Mingdao Ren's dark golden pupils narrowed, and the lotus lamp in his right hand lit up again. An invisible light barrier flickered, seemingly possessing immense power, which actually forced Bai Yiyuan away. Chant! At that very moment, Chen Mobai, who had been waiting for this opportunity, wielded his divine wood sword like a fish swimming into the gap where the light barrier disappeared the instant the lamp wick went out, and gently circled around Fei Mingdao Ren's neck. With a creak, a piercing, teeth-grinding sound rang out. The divine wood sword seemed to have struck a piece of refined iron. Although it cut through the outer layer, it was held in place by flying Nether Taoist's left hand and could not go any further. Interesting, he's actually a sword cultivator. Fei Mingdao Ren's dark golden eyes turned to the inconspicuous Chen Mobai in the distance. Among the 6 Foundation establishment cultivators present, he paid the least attention to this handsome young man, because he could sense that the boy's cultivation level was only at the Foundation establishment stage. However, these 2 swift and agile sword techniques accurately seized the gaps in his magic weapon's defensive power. His eyesight and swordsmanship were even better than that old guy in the mid-Foundation establishment stage above. Just as Fei Mingdao Ren looked at Chen Mobai, Bai Yiyuan, who had been bounced away by the five-colored lotus lantern, swung out his spiked club and, taking advantage of the moment when his opponent was restrained by the divine wood sword, smashed it heavily onto Chen Mobai's forehead. Rumble! As if hit by a baseball, Fei Mingdao Ren's head cracked open, revealing a hollow forehead. He crashed heavily into the cave wall, leaving a human-shaped crater. Walk! Having succeeded in his attack, Bai Yiyuan did not hesitate at all. After retrieving his magic weapon, he took the lead and flew into the sky. Taking the underground passage is too risky, and he doesn't know any Earth Chinese letter. Earth Chinese letter is a type of magic that allows one to escape from the earth. It's better for him to go upwards like Shan Hongyi. Without any hesitation, Chen Mobai sent the divine wood sword back to his side, and in a state of perfect harmony with the sword, he began to run away at top speed. Yan Jinai and Mei Jingjun also decisively followed them. Let's attack together. At Shan Hongyi's command, the 5 fellow disciples of the divine wood sect, though they had never coordinated before, simultaneously unleashed their most powerful fire attribute spells upon Fei Mingdao Ren's silver-armored corpse. In an instant, flames danced everywhere, with fireballs of flaming serpents and purple fire sword energy, accompanied by thunderous roars, covering the silver-armored corpse like a meteor shower, melting most of his broadsword. The 5 members of the divine sect paid no attention to their own battle record and rushed into the exit that had been left open after the silver-armored corpse was defeated. As he left, Chen Mobai glanced at Madame Guo, who was riding a beam of light and rushing towards the lake. They actually chose the opposite direction. It's no use, this is my underworld, all space is under my control. As Fei Ming Dao Ren's voice rang out, Chen Mobai and the others felt the silver mist churning before their eyes, and they could no longer see the direction. After their consciousness left their bodies and they identified the cave entrance, the group was about to leave when they found themselves spinning around and back to where they started. Then silvery mist, carrying a chilling aura, rose up from below, filling the entire cave and obscuring their vision. Fellow junior brothers and sisters, don't panic. As Shan Hongyi's voice rang out, a bright light shone through the silver mist, dispelling all the darkness and allowing everyone to regain their sight. It is a magical artifact belonging to Shan Hongyi, which is perfect for this kind of occasion. Chen Mobai withdrew his void-piercing spirit eye, stood atop the crimson clouds and mist, and stood with his 4 fellow disciples at the 4 corners, their expressions solemn. Above the two, the silver-armored corpse of the flying nether Taoist had reappeared at some point, blocking the entrance to the cave. His entire body was charred black, and one of his arms had been lost. However, the silver mist slowly flowed into his wounds, and the places where they had injured him healed at a speed visible to the naked eye in an instant. I'm starting to get used to this new body. Fei Ming Daoran emerged from the mountain wall. His forehead, which had been smashed open by the spiked club, healed rapidly. The smoke emanating from the 5-colored lotus lantern in his hand transformed into silver mist, which was highly beneficial to the silver-armored corpse. Netherworld formation activate. After becoming familiar with his new physical body, Fei Ming Dao Ren began to manipulate the cave formations he had set up during his lifetime. Then the void opened up, and Madame Guo, who should have escaped, rushed out of the hole with a panicked expression. So that's how it is. When Chen Mobai and the others saw this, they knew that they must have been teleported back in the same way. What is the origin of this netherworld grand array, that it is so mysterious? After Madame Guo landed beside Taoist Fei Ming, she was about to use her golden jade axe to attack and retreat when she was illuminated by the 5-colored lotus lantern. Her magic weapon was frozen in place, and she was slammed heavily against the mountain wall. But Madame Guo was not as tough as the silver-armored corpse, and this almost shattered her to pieces. Even so, her vision went black. Although she remained barely intact, embedded in the mountain wall, her breath was faint. "Isn't she one of yours?" Upon seeing this, Chen Mobai couldn't help but ask a question. "My person, I didn't say it was her." After saying this, Fei Ming Dao Ren grasped the jade-handled golden axe that had been frozen in front of him and hurled it at Madame Guo, who had just slid down the mountain wall. The axe pierced through the beautiful woman's chest, and amidst the dripping blood, he avenged the death of his own body that had been slain by the axe. Seeing such a tragic scene, Chen Mobai and Yan Jinai frowned slightly, while the other 3 seemed unfazed. At this moment, Taoist Fei Ming pulled the golden jade axe from the body of the unseeing dead Madame Guo, and then threw it towards Bai Yiyuan in the sky. With a clang, Bai Yiyuan smashed the golden jade axe with his spiked club, but found his hand lightened as the 3 spikes on it had been cut off, revealing a bright cut. This golden axe is incredibly sharp. No wonder he was able to cut open Fei Ming Dao Ren's corpse before. Junior brother Bai and I will work together to kill this silver-armored corpse. Junior brother Chen and the 2 junior sisters, can you hold off Taoist Fei Ming for a while? Upon seeing this, Shan Hongyi quickly devised a tactic. Everyone understood the situation. Although Yan Jinai and Mei Jingjun looked bitter, they had no choice but to nod. Chen Mobai remained silent, and everyone assumed that he had agreed. "My men are still among you." At this moment, Taoist Fei Ming uttered another thought-provoking remark. Shan Hongyi and Bai Yiyuan exchanged a glance and simultaneously attacked the silver-armored corpse in the sky. In an instant, The two unleashed terrifying spiritual power that shook the entire cave. Within just 5 or 6 moves, they defeated their opponent and then rushed into the cave entrance, disappearing from sight. Let's go too. Yan Jinai pulled Mei Jingjun along the passage the two had created, transforming into a blue light and rising rapidly. Hey, aren't you leaving? Fei Ming Taoist looked at Chen Mobai, who was still standing in the same spot, with great curiosity. Can they escape? Chen Mobai asked a strange question. Probably not. The flying nether Taoist was also quite interesting, as he uttered a rather ambiguous statement. What's the meaning? Although my netherworld grand array is set up using the terrain here, the array plate has flaws. Array masters of the 3rd rank or above can find a way to break the array. That's really unfortunate. It seems that we don't have any 3rd-tier array masters in our group. Shan Hongyi knows a little about formations, but Chen Mobai probably knows it's due to his older age and accumulated knowledge. Bai Yiyuan is a body cultivator, Yan Jinai is an alchemist, and I haven't met Mei Jingjun yet, but judging from her appearance, she shouldn't be a 3rd-tier array master. You guessed it, there really isn't. The 5-colored lotus lantern in Fei Ming Daoran's hand flickered, reflecting in the firelight the scene of Shan Hongyi and the other 3 flying continuously in the passage, but never being able to fly out of Lonely Soul Ridge. I've separated the 4 of them. Go and hunt them down one by one. I'll take my time with this sword cultivator. The silver-armored corpse, restored by the silver mist, nodded. Since his weapon was damaged, he picked up the golden jade axe. Chen Mobai witnessed him disappear to hunt down his fellow disciples. Oh, aren't you going to stop it? When Fei Ming Dao Ren saw Chen Mobai standing motionless on the cloud, he looked somewhat disappointed, feeling that he had failed in his attempt to manipulate people's hearts. No, it would be much easier for me to deal with you alone. Chen Mobai said something that made him raise an eyebrow. Do you know what you're saying? Fei Ming Dao Ren's face was gloomy. He raised the 5-colored lotus lamp in his hand, about to use this magic weapon to torture and kill this arrogant brat, when a green flying sword shot out from Chen Mobai's hand. A vast array of sword energy descended, carrying some flashy but impractical flames, which were easily frozen, immobilized, and then dissipated by the multicolored firelight. Too weak. Just as Fei Ming Dao Ren shook his head and sighed, preparing to kill this Shenmu sect disciple, an unprecedentedly dazzling purple light shone in his eyes like a shooting star. He looked up and saw Chen Mobai pull out a hairpin and gently swipe it downwards. Fei Ming Dao Ren's expression changed. He was about to spit out the golden pearl, but the speed of the purple sword light far exceeded his expectations. He wanted to rely on the silver-armored corpse's tough body to withstand the attack. Unless it's a fatal injury, one can recover quickly with the help of the treasure. But when he came to his senses, he found that his head was already flying in the air, and he could see his headless corpse holding a colorful lotus lantern. How is that possible? How could a mere sword rainbow break through my defense? Just as Fei Ming Dao Ren was filled with doubt, he finally noticed something was amiss. The one who just attacked him didn't seem to be Jian Hong. End of this chapter. Chapter 261. After a fierce battle, he was killed. Chapter 261. After a fierce battle, he was killed. Its sword light. Finally, Taoist Fei Ming realized what was happening. But by then it was too late. Even for a zombie, being beheaded is a fatal wound. However, before he died, there was at least one thing he wanted to do. After Chen Mobai killed Fei Ming Dao Ren with a sword strike using all his might, he was about to use the Qingyang fire seed to burn the silver-armored corpse to ashes when he saw a golden bead fly out from the wound on the headless corpse's neck. It was like a dark golden sun, bursting out with dazzling brilliance. Not good. Chen Mobai, sensing the incredibly intense fluctuations in spiritual energy, changed his expression, knowing that this was his opponent's last struggle before death. He dared not take any risks, and immediately used all his defensive measures to retreat quickly. A crimson cloud enveloped his entire body, as if a pale red cloud was enveloping him as he rapidly ascended. Then, one after another, dark blue scales flew out from his right sleeve, transforming into a scale shield that blocked the smoke and mist. Even with 2 layers of defense, he was still a little uneasy. He bit his left fingertip, using his blood as ink, and drew a talisman in the air, setting up a spirit leaf technique. Although its power was limited due to the inability to activate the heavenly wood divine light array in time, it was still the strongest defensive spell he had mastered at this stage. Finally, he took out a defensive talisman from his storage bag. If the 3 layers of defense in front of him could not withstand the terrifying power of the golden bead, at least he could buy some time to retreat further. Of course, before leaving, Chen Mobai did not forget to retrieve his flying sparrow hairpin. This was the most valuable thing he owned. A second-tier high-grade attack magic weapon is worth over 1,000 spirit stones in terms of value alone. Moreover, it is the fire attribute flying sword most suitable for Chen Mobai to use the Crimson Flame sword technique. I used this magical artifact twice after acquiring it. With the aura of the Rising Sun enhanced by the Rising Sun technique, he unleashed a single sword strike, instantly killing 2 Foundation Establishment cultivators, one at the 3rd level of Foundation Establishment, and the other a mid-Foundation Establishment cultivator in life, now a silver-armored corpse, making him virtually invincible. He had long since mastered the flying sparrow hairpin to the point of spiritual connection. The moment he saw the golden bead emerge from the headless corpse, it burst forth with pure purple-blue flames, like a spirited swallow turning its direction. However, at this moment, Chen Mobai's insightful eyes saw the 5-colored lotus lamp held in the hands of the headless corpse. With a thought, the flying sparrow hairpin, like a nimble swallow flicking its tail, once again unleashed a streak of purple fire sword light, severing the right hand of flying nether Taoist. Then, under the control of divine sense, the flame at the end of the hairpin lengthened, turning into a chain of flames that pulled the colorful lotus lantern and the severed hand together as they flew towards Chen Mobai, who had already retreated into the cave entrance, amidst the explosion. However, Chen Mobai, who had already turned and fled, did not notice that when he took the 5-colored lotus lamp from Faming Taoist, a bit of pure spiritual essence had already flown out from the wick. Rumble! In the blink of an eye, the terrifying spiritual power unleashed by the golden pearl swept through the entire underground cavern like a raging torrent. Although Chen Mobai had retreated as quickly as possible, he still felt the terrifying fluctuation of spiritual energy, mixed with the cold and evil corpse energy, which impacted his triple defenses like a storm. The outermost blue-scaled shield was the first to break apart, disintegrating into pieces. His spiritual power was completely dissipated amidst the swirling clouds, and then absorbed back by the cold iron wrist guard he wore on his right hand. At that moment, a deep purple light flew over from not far away, and Chen Mobai immediately picked up his storage bag and caught the flying sparrow hairpin and the 5-colored lotus lantern. Amidst a series of earth-shaking, muffled thuds, the cloud light formed from the crimson clouds and mist began to twist and deform, gradually thinning. However, Chen Mobai, wielding the divine wood sword, had already risen high enough by sparing no effort to use his spiritual power to split open mountains and break through caves. Before his death, Fei Mingdao Ren could easily block Fei Mingdao Ren's attack after he had withstood the initial fierce impact and created enough distance. So he stopped what he was doing, smashing the falling rocks as he waited for the aftershocks to subside. After about the time it takes to drink a cup of tea, the terrifying surge of spiritual energy finally began to dissipate. The earthquake has stopped. After waiting for a while and confirming that nothing was wrong, Chen Mobai took out the flying sparrow hairpin and the 5-colored lotus lantern from his storage bag. After inserting the jade-green hairpin back into his hair, he looked at his haul. A very beautiful multicolored lamp. It's just that the severed hand is a bit of an eyesore. Without any hesitation, Chen Mobai used the azure sun fire to burn it to ashes, then reached out and took the lotus lamp, which was clearly not an ordinary magic artifact. Chen Mobai dared not rashly inject spiritual power, but from his own perspective, He felt that this magic artifact might be above the second tier. However, it seems incomplete, and the wick doesn't seem to be lit. It seems I need to go back to the immortal sect and ask my good brothers for help in appraising it. With this in mind, Chen Mobai put the 5-colored lotus lantern back into his storage bag, and then used his flying sword to carve it open. He also has nearly 100 mid-grade spirit stones, enough to support him in carving through the entire Lonely Soul Ridge. However, 2 days later, when Chen Mobai had broken through a mountain wall and thought he had dug a tunnel that had not yet collapsed, he found that the scene in front of him was very familiar. Isn't this the cave where he slew the underworld Taoist? However, the original underground lake had long been filled with stalactites and other debris that fell after the explosion, and the white jade altar had turned to dust along with the headless corpse in the explosion of the golden pearl. After flying around and confirming several signs of battle, Chen Mobai's expression turned serious. What's going on? Could it be that even though the flying nether Taoist is dead, the netherworld formation has not been broken? Is he still within the range of this formation? Or perhaps Taoist Faming isn't dead yet? Or perhaps the silver-armored corpse that was chasing Shan Hongyi and the others could also manipulate the netherworld array? Chen Mobai considered all the possibilities, sat cross-legged on the crimson cloud and mist robe, and then took out a mid-grade spirit stone to begin recovering his depleted spiritual power. In the event that another battle may occur, it is necessary to maintain one's peak condition. Half a day later, he opened his eyes and activated his void insight eye. This spiritual eye technique is known as the most comprehensive among the immortal sects. Chen Mobai has been practicing it day and night for half a year using the spiritual dew of the clear eye bamboo, and has already mastered the basics. Now, by exerting their full power, they immediately saw strands of spiritual energy of different colors remaining in the air. He compared his impressions and first located the brightest red light of spiritual energy. This belongs to Shan Hongyi. Of the 5 members of the Divine Wood sect, only he was in the mid-foundation establishment stage. Without concealment, the traces of spiritual energy he left behind were naturally the most obvious. Chen Mobai immediately chased after the direction in which he disappeared. However, after chasing for half the distance, he discovered that the trace of spiritual energy had suddenly disappeared. He immediately recalled the scene where Madame Guo, who had already escaped, was teleported to his side by the flying nether Taoist. It must have been the netherworld array that teleported Shan Hongyi to another place in Lonely Soul Ridge. However, the activation conditions for such a large array that can teleport at any time must be extremely demanding. Chen Mobai recalled the array formation knowledge he had learned and quickly figured out the key point. The teleportation array requires powerful spiritual energy to activate. He once traveled to Yunming's by taking the teleportation array of Nangxi Market. When it was activated, in addition to drawing spiritual energy from the market's ley lines, it also required spirit stones as a power source. The array plate of this netherworld array must be located in a place where spiritual energy is most abundant. It's either the core of the Earth's veins or a place where many spirit stones have accumulated. Chen Mobai withdrew his insightful eyes and put on his gold-rimmed glasses with the lenses replaced. Although this ritual implement is fragile, its functionality is reliable. After expanding the range to its maximum, Chen Mobai flew towards the place where the spiritual energy fluctuations were the most intense. With a loud bang, he broke through a mountain wall and entered a cave. He was slightly taken aback by what he saw. Bai Yiyuan, his eyes wide open, had a large hole in his chest. His heart had been ripped out, and he was already dead. However, there was no blood on the ground beneath his body. Chen Mobai knew at a glance that this was because all the blood in his body had been drained. Was it that silver-armored corpse that did it? With his mind racing, Chen Mobai closed Bai Yiyuan's eyes. In this dangerous place, he dared not take a corpse with him. Moreover, his storage bag has limited space, so that's all he can do. After surveying the surrounding traces of the battle, Chen Mobai found the spiked club with only its iron handle remaining, as well as the cleaved armor. He touched the cut of the armor plate. It was as smooth as jade. He immediately thought of the golden jade axe. This magical artifact should be no less valuable than his flying sparrow hairpin. It's just a pity that Madame Gue was unlucky. No one knows what her origins were, but she inexplicably perished in this lonely soul ridge. Chen Mobai searched around but couldn't find any storage bags or similar items, so he stopped wasting time. He once again chased after the place, where the spiritual energy fluctuations were most intense. It's getting closer and closer. He could even faintly hear the roar of explosions. The divine wood sword flew out, cleaving through a mountain wall before Chen Mobai rushed into another huge underground cavern. What came into view was Shan Hongyi, who had unleashed the heavenly wood divine light array. The foundation establishment elder of the divine wood sect had a face that was half blue and half red. The two spiritual energies of wood and fire circulated continuously within his body, and under their mutual stimulation, they transformed into the vast and boundless, heavenly wood spiritual light, and crimson flame sword chi. On his diagonal sides, two more crimson sun spirit trees rose from the ground, belonging to Yan Jinai and Mei Jingjun. The three of them spread their arms wide, activated their spiritual power, and guided the three beams of heavenly wood spiritual light to merge into a huge ball of light, trapping the silver-armored corpse inside. Three foundation establishment cultivators from the divine wood sect joined forces to cast the heavenly wood divine light array, forcibly setting up a formation within the netherworld grand array. This suppressed the flow of spiritual energy from the Earth's veins in Lonely Soul Ridge, temporarily shielding the power of the netherworld grand array in this way. Junior brother Chen has arrived just in time. Let's join forces and refine him. At the center of the three was the silver-armored corpse of the flying nether Taoist. He gripped the golden jade axe and relentlessly attacked the cage formed by the three beams of celestial wood spiritual light. But Shan Hongyi held the line head-on with his fiery sword energy, maintaining a stalemate. Chen Mobai's appearance undoubtedly brought a look of surprise and delight to the three members of the Shenmu sect. The silver-armored corpse's expression changed drastically the moment it saw Chen Mobai burst in. Then, as if having made up his mind without any hesitation, he opened his mouth and spat out a silver bead. He even followed the example of the flying nether Taoist and self-destructed his own corpse pearl. Caught off guard, the three members of the Shenmu sect suffered a severe blow. Shan Hongyi, who was at the forefront, cracked the blue shield in his hand. His face was pale, and he seemed to have exhausted too much spiritual energy. His originally black hair began to turn half gray and half white. However, the most tragic one was Yan Jinai. Her cultivation was the weakest, and the heavenly wood spirit light connected to her mind was blasted apart the moment the silver-armored corpse spat out the pearl. Her face turned ashen, blood spilled from the corner of her mouth, and she collapsed to the ground. Chen Mobai paid no attention to Mei Jingjun, because after the silver-armored corpse self-destructed its corpse bead, it was actually unharmed. Instead, it used this powerful force to break through the cage of the heavenly wood spiritual light. He wielded the golden jade axe and slashed directly into the green iron shield in Shan Hongyi's hand, then extended his sharp 5 claws to pluck at the latter's heart. Dan Hongyi released the shield in his hand and swung it into the air along with the golden jade axe on it. His face suddenly turned red. Just as he was about to use a secret technique that would cause mutual destruction, a cyan flying sword flew past his cheek from behind and pierced straight into the silver-armored corpse's brow. A ding sounded. The silver-armored corpse, which had already rushed in front of Shan Hongyi, was instantly sent flying back, its forehead pierced by the divine wood sword, and pinned to the opposite mountain wall. "Senior brother Shan, are you all right?" Chen Mobai's voice came from behind. Shan Hongyi, who was already barely holding on, couldn't hold on any longer and plopped down on a rock above the cave. He took out a spirit stone and started to recover while panting. "Junior brother Chen, I'm fine, but it's a pity that junior brother Bai didn't cultivate the heavenly wood divine light array. He couldn't shield the teleportation power of the underworld array like we could, and he was killed by the demon corpse not long ago. As Shan Hongyi spoke, his face darkened. He led the team out this time, thinking it would be a simple mission, but unexpectedly, one of his fellow disciples was lost. Alas, it's all my fault for not discovering the operating rules of this netherworld array sooner. If I had come earlier, I might have been able to save senior brother Bai. Chen Mobai sighed, and Mei Jingjun, who was not far away, also helped the extremely weak Yan Jinai over. How did junior brother Chen escape the pursuit of the silver-armored corpse? Mei Jingjun asked curiously, knowing that she herself had been in a life-or-death situation when she had a sudden inspiration, and came up with the idea of using the heavenly wood divine light array to shield the underworld array. This was also thanks to the silver-armored corpse, who wanted to slowly kill them one by one and enjoy their blood. It first teleported Bai Yiyuan away from them, and when it killed this body cultivator from the divine wood sect, it gave Mei Jingjun time to think and find this glimmer of hope. Chen Mobai hesitated for a moment, then noticed Yan Jinai's gaze and knew that she was aware of his swordsmanship level. When I returned to my sect afterward, I figured I couldn't hide it anymore, so I just told the truth. I fought a fierce battle with that flying nether Taoist and killed him. End of this chapter. Chapter 262, Kong Ming Stone. Chapter 262, Kong Ming Stone. After hearing Chen Mobai's words, everyone was stunned. They all knew just how terrifying the flying nether Taoist was. His cultivation level was just average, probably around the same as when he was alive, at the mid-foundation establishment stage. However, since it has been transformed into a zombie and possesses some of the special features of the golden armor corpse, its body is far more resilient than that of an ordinary silver armor corpse. Without a second-tier high-grade attack magic weapon or sword energy, it is likely that even its skin cannot be broken. In addition, there are the mysterious five-colored lotus lanterns and the third-tier corpse pearls. With the support of the netherworld array of Lonely Soul Ridge, even a late-stage foundation establishment cultivator would probably only be able to protect himself here. However, this formidable enemy was slain by the handsome junior brother before them. An expression of disbelief appeared on the faces of Shan Hongyi and Mei Jingjun. On the contrary, Yan Jinai, knowing Chen Mobai's sword cultivation level, showed an expression of it is only natural on her face. The sword light, refined to its extreme, is incredibly sharp, making it the nemesis of thick-skinned zombies. In addition, this junior brother obtained the Azure Yang Fire Seed from the Divine Tree Secret Realm, which is full of masculine energy. With both factors combined, it's understandable that after a fierce battle, Fei Mingdao Ren was finally defeated. As expected of your senior brother, it's normal for you to be able to do this. Yan Jinai's words silenced Shan Hongyi and Mei Jingjun, who had initially been somewhat skeptical. They remembered Chen Mobai's reputation as a newly promoted foundation establishment cultivator within the sect. Unparalleled swordsmanship genius. Could this person be another one from Hong? With these thoughts in mind, the two of them looked at Chen Mobai differently. Among the previous generation of true disciples, Hong was the most renowned. He defeated the strong with the weak, and even in the early stages of foundation establishment, he killed 3 second-tier demonic beasts. He was hailed as the most outstanding genius of the Divine Wood sect in 100 years, and possessed the potential to reach the Golden Core stage. Chen Mobai's ability to kill Fei Mingdao Ren, while only at the early foundation establishment stage, is quite impressive. I must thank junior brother Chen for saving my life this time. After we return to the sect, I will make sure to thank you properly. When Shan Hongyi spoke, his tone was completely different from before. This golden jade axe is a top-tier second-order magic weapon. Junior brother made the greatest contribution this time, so you should accept it. When Chen Mobai saw the jade-handled golden axe handed over by Shan Hongyi, he didn't react at first. However, considering the atmosphere in the Tian realm and seeing the matter-of-fact expressions of Mei Jingjun and Yan Jinai, he decided it would be impolite to refuse. Compared to the colorful lotus lantern, whose usage was unclear, This golden jade axe was quite simple. Even with his novice level of treasure appraisal, he could deduce the method of its use. It's nothing more than injecting spiritual energy. Since this place is the lair that flying nether Taoist has been running for over 100 years, there might be many secret treasures here. Now that the greatest danger has already been killed by junior brother Chen, let's search it thoroughly. When Shan Hongyi saw Chen Mobai accept the golden jade axe, he felt a little envious. He had personally experienced the power of this magic weapon. Even his second-tier defensive magic weapon had been broken through, which showed how powerful it was. Unable to obtain the golden jade axe, he hoped to plunder the area to at least make up for the loss of his second-tier magic weapon. You two senior brothers go ahead. I have difficulty moving around, so I'll wait for you here. Yan Jinai said with a bitter smile. Her face was pale and her energy had plummeted to its lowest point. If she didn't heal soon, it might damage her very essence. Then I'll go and clean up after senior brother Bai. At least I'll bring his body back to the sect. Mei Jingzhen's situation wasn't much better, and she was only able to survive thanks to Chen Mobai and the other two, so she tactfully gave them all the spoils she had gathered. Junior brother Chen, let's meet here in an hour. After saying this, Shan Hongyi couldn't wait to take out the brass plate and fly in the direction indicated by the copper spoon on it. After thinking it over, Chen Mobai decided to do as the Romans do. After instructing Yan Jinai and the other woman to be careful, he headed towards the place with the strongest spiritual energy he had seen earlier. Soon he arrived at a mountain wall. The sword energy burst forth, already cutting through the disguise of the rock. He saw a cave that had been dug and cut into a square shape. Before even stepping inside, he could feel a rich spiritual energy. Upon closer inspection, one could see a small white jade altar in the center of the cave, exactly the same as the one where the ebony pavilion had been placed before. However, what's placed on it is a silver-gray disc, about 30 centimeters in diameter. Chen Mobai recognized it at a glance. It was an array plate. However, the array plate has 3 cracks, breaking into 4 pieces. But it seems that Taoist Faming has collected 3 of them, and now only one corner is missing. After confirming there was no danger, Chen Mobai reached out and took down the silver-gray array plate. Then the rich spiritual energy became even more mellow, as if one were immersed in a rain of spiritual energy. The familiar feeling caused Chen Mobai's expression to change slightly. He activated his void insight and looked down at the small white jade altar, discovering that it was actually a single piece of spirit stone, and of high quality, equivalent to a mid-grade spirit stone. This is actually a raw spirit stone. Thanks to Yuan Che, 6-month tenure guarding the spirit stone mine this year, Chen Mobai had heard him mention the mining situation when they were drinking together. In the cultivation world, spirit stones are all cut into standard shapes and weights so that they can serve as the most basic unit of currency and circulate throughout the world. The raw spirit stones that have just been mined are unnatural shapes formed within the earth. However, Yuan Che guarded the spirit stone mine in Lei Kingdom for half a year, and the largest raw spirit stone he had ever seen was only the size of a head. The one in front of Chen Mobai was already as big as his chest. Roughly estimated, it's worth at least 200 or 300 mid-grade spirit stones. The entire spirit stone mine in the eastern wilderness is backed by the 7 great sects. There is absolutely no way that a rogue cultivator could buy raw spirit stones through trading. Is there a possibility that the flying nether Taoist owned a spirit stone mine, which he had mined himself during his lifetime? Thinking of this, Chen Mobai activated his void insight eye and looked through the entire cave dwelling from top to bottom. Finally, a hidden cavity was found. After cutting it open, he found quite a few books inside. Without looking closely, he first put the white jade altar, the array plate, and all the books into his storage bag. After confirming that nothing was missing, he came out. After the cave collapsed, Chen Mobai went to the place where Fei Ming Dao Ren's ebony pavilion had been placed. After much effort, they unearthed the large white jade altar, only to discover that it was not a raw spirit stone. Disappointed, they were about to leave. Hurled. Chen Mobai stopped and looked in one direction. It was a recessed, human-shaped cliff face. If I remember correctly, Madame Guo was killed by the flying nether Taoist right there. Chen Mobai looked around, but did not find any corpses. Did it disappear in the aftershocks of the gold bead explosion? But how come there isn't even a drop of blood or a bone fragment left? Could it be that the high temperature at the center of the explosion turned the body into ashes? Thinking this through, Chen Mobai calculated that it was about time, and with some doubt he returned to the place he had left earlier. When he arrived, he found that Shan Hongyi had not yet returned. Yan Jinai's expression was much better. After all, she was an alchemist herself, and her storage bag contained all kinds of pills. Mei Jingzhen also used a magical artifact to split open a stone coffin, and Bai Yiyuan's body was placed inside. My and junior sister Yan's storage bags are almost full, so we have to carry them out. Chen Mobai nodded in agreement, indicating that his storage bag was also full, but since Shan Hongyi had an airship, they could just carry it outside. After a while, as the agreed time was fast approaching, Shan Hongyi still hadn't returned. The two women were getting anxious, and Yan Jinai, who had been healing, couldn't sit still any longer and stood up pacing back and forth. Just as Chen Mobai was wondering if Shan Hongyi had encountered any danger, and whether he should escort his two junior sisters out first and then return to the sect to call for help, Shan Hongyi finally returned. He looked excited, holding a piece of silver gray ore in his hand. Junior brothers and sisters, this is actually a mine of void stone. No wonder that flying nether Taoist was able to set up a great array to transfer space. Upon hearing Shan Hongyi's words, Chen Mobai's expression changed in surprise. The void stone, also known as the void stone, is an essential material for crafting storage bags. The immortal sects even designated this ore as one of the 9 rare treasures, and even a golden core cultivator might not be able to obtain a single piece. In the eastern wilderness, only within the territory of the 5-element sect, and at the headquarters on the summit of Mount Han have 2 void stone veins been discovered. When the Divine Wood sect and Golden Light Cliff separated, the reason they fought to the death with the 5-element sect for 50 years was to bring the void stone mine into their own territory, but the other 3 branches of the 5-element sect refused no matter what. The value of a void stone mine is immeasurable. Even a golden core ancestor would be alarmed. Go return to the sect immediately to report. After putting the piece of void stone into his storage bag, Shan Hongyi did not hesitate at all. This gain is too great. Even the 4 of them who are at the foundation establishment stage couldn't handle it. Chen Mobai nodded. After leaving Lonely Soul Ridge, they returned to Giant Tree Ridge without stopping. Because the void stone vein was too precious, the 4 of them went directly to the Divine Wood Palace. Meng Hong, who was fishing at the time, immediately went to the place where Zhou Leiazu was in seclusion to report the news after receiving it. After waiting for about half a day, Meng Hong walked in behind a young man with white hair and a youthful face. "Greetings, ancestor." Shan Hongyi immediately bowed to the white-haired youth. Chen Mobai and his 2 companions, who had never met the golden core ancestor of the Divine Wood sect before, only then realized that this young man was actually Zhou Shenking, the supreme elder of the sect and the Divine Wood Palace master, who was vaguely known as the #1 person in the eastern wilderness. "Greetings, Ancestor Zhou." Chen Mobai, Yan Jinai, and Mei Jingzhen followed suit and bowed. "It's all my Zhang Junji, no need for formalities." Zhou Shenking had fair and tender skin with a faint glow. Although he was over 300 years old, he looked younger than Chen Mobai. The Golden Core ancestor spoke in a gentle tone, and after finishing his story, he didn't waste any time and directly asked about all the details of their time in Lonely Soul Ridge. The first person to be asked was naturally Shan Hongyi. Zhou Shenking held the piece of void stone in his hand, having already confirmed its authenticity. After questioning Shan Hongyi, he then inquired about how Yan Jinai had discovered the cave. "At a small trade fair, I traded a bottle of pills that were useful for breaking through to the early stages of Foundation establishment for a fragmented treasure map. After consulting the maps and atlases in the library, I filled in the missing information and found the Lonely Soul Ridge. By the way, that Madame Guo was the one who led me into this trade fair. She is a foundation establishment elder of the Guo family. Before I went to explore the Lonely Soul Ridge Cave, for safety reasons, after Senior Sister May agreed to go with me, I also sought out Madame Guo. After Yan Jinai finished speaking, Zhou Shenking asked a few more questions, which Yan Jinai answered one by one. What is the background of the Guo family? Upon hearing the ancestor's question, Meng Hong immediately answered. They are one of the founding immortal cultivation families in the country, with 2 foundation establishment cultivators. They are considered to be the top forces besides our sect. Will the extermination of the entire clan have any impact? Upon hearing this, Chen Mobai couldn't help but twitch his lips slightly. The atmosphere in the heavenly river realm was indeed quite fierce. This is probably not possible. The Guo family has another foundation establishment cultivator named Guo Banyan. Who is Guo Banyan? Zhou Shenking looked confused. He didn't recall this name. He is a foundation establishment cultivator from the 5 Elements sect. Although he hasn't returned to the Guo family for a long time, he still has to consider the influence there. Upon hearing the name of the 5 Elements sect, Zhou Shenking's expression suddenly became clear. It wasn't that he was afraid, but if he were to fight the 5 Elements sect again over such a trivial matter, it would definitely disrupt his cultivation. He still had a sliver of hope of forming his nascent soul, and he couldn't afford to waste any more time. All right then, have Kang Chi and Lu Yi keep an eye on the Guo family. If anything happens, then take action. After he finished speaking, 2 foundation establishment cultivators whom Chen Mobai had never seen before walked in. Greetings, Ancestor Zhou. One of them was dressed in a brocade robe, wearing a jade crown, with a square face and 2 perfectly symmetrical mustaches. The other one was neither tall nor fat, with a sallow complexion, looking like an old farmer. The 2 had completely different temperaments, but upon entering, they both bowed to Zhou Shenking first. Okay, Meng Hong, tell them about it. As Zhou Shenking spoke, he tossed the void stone ore in his hand to the cultivator with the mustache. After looking at it, the latter's expression became solemn, and he then solemnly handed it to the old farmer beside him. Tell me your thoughts. The mineral veins are under the jurisdiction of your spirit vein department, and the spirit vein department is under the jurisdiction of your reward hall. There needs to be a set of rules. Upon hearing this, Chen Mobai already knew the identities of the 2 people. He should be the head of the Hall of Rewards and Benevolence and the head of the Spirit Vein Department, both within the 3 halls and 12 departments of the Shenmu sect. This is the mineral vein of my Shenmu sect. The Hall Master of the Hall of Rewards and Benevolence made his stance clear from the very first sentence. As for other mines, I guess the other factions can let it go. But as for the Void Stone mine, since it is a necessary material for setting up a teleportation array, even within the territory of my Divine Wood sect, I'm afraid we'll have to fight over it. Meng Hong, however, looked worried. As the sect leader, he had to consider the whole picture. I think we still need to find out the output of the vein first. If it is just a small vein like the one at the top of Hanshin Mountain, I'm afraid the other factions will not risk going to war with the 2 ancestors. The minister of the Spirit Vein Department uttered a mature statement. What if the vein is large? The person who asked this question was Zhou Shenking. Then I'm afraid we'll have to give a portion to Jin Guangya. The answer came from the head of the Hall of Rewards and Benevolence. Sai, I'm a little reluctant to give up the Void Stone mine. When Zhou Shenking said this, everyone present couldn't help but look at each other in bewilderment. Judging from what this old ancestor is saying, does he want to fight? Chen Mobai was a little confused. Why didn't the Shenmu sect just mine the mineral vein secretly and keep it a secret from others? However, he knew that the others in the hall must also know this simple truth, so he wisely refrained from interrupting. Let Magging first go and find out the size of the ore vein. Finally, Zhou Shenking made the decision, and the minister of the Spirit Vein Department accepted the order and took his leave. Mei Jingjun, being a Foundation establishment cultivator from the Spirit Vein Department and familiar with Lonely Soul Ridge, also followed him. End of this chapter. Chapter 263 Harvest. Chapter 263 Harvest. Shan Hongyi's discovery of the Kongaming stone vein was a major achievement. When Ancestor Zhou heard that he had lost a defensive magic artifact in Lonely Soul Ridge, he replaced it with 2 third-tier spirit leaf talismans that he had refined himself. This talisman can be used 3 times and can block attacks from any cultivator below the golden core stage. In terms of value, it is even more precious than some talisman treasures. If auctioned in the market, each piece would be worth at least 3,000 or 4,000 spirit stones. For Foundation establishment cultivators, this is their trump card for survival. When Shan Hongyi took the 2 talismans, Chen Mobai noticed that his hands were trembling slightly. Although I was envious, I felt better when I thought about how much more valuable the raw spirit stone I had obtained was. You 2 have done a good job, so let's reward you with some spirit stones and sect contributions. Before leaving, Zhou Shenking pointed at Chen Mobai and Yan Jinai and left a message. Yes, Ancestor. As the sect leader, Meng Hong immediately responded respectfully to the spot where Zhou Shenking had disappeared. Junior brother Chu, how much do you think is an appropriate reward? After Meng Hong stood up, he asked Chu Zuoshu, the master of the reward hall, who hesitated for a moment. Under normal circumstances, he would definitely pause, but since it was the Ancestor who spoke, he naturally had to be more generous. Junior sister Yan, how about 600 each? Junior brother Chen, killing the 2 silver-armored corpses is a great achievement. How about 3,000? Good. Upon hearing this number, Meng Hong didn't say anything more. Chen Mobai and Yan Jinai followed Chu Zuoshu to the Hall of Rewards and Virtue, swiped their sect badges, and claimed their rewards. Seeing the 3,000 spirit stones and 3,000 sect contribution points that Chen Mobai received, Yan Jinai looked on with envy. However, she is already very lucky to have come back alive this time. Shan Hongyi followed them to the Hall of Rewards and Benevolence, and then the 3 of them went to the Alchemy Department together. I haven't received my reward for traveling there yet. Thank you, Master. Yan Jinai bowed deeply to Zheng Wuyu with gratitude. If he hadn't issued the mission and asked Chen Mobai and the other 2 to rescue her, she would definitely be a corpse by now. It's all right. The spirit stones and expenses for the mission will be on your tab. I'm just covering the costs for you in advance. After Zheng Wuyu finished speaking, he took out a bottle of pills and a jade box from his storage bag. The elixir was the returning jade pill that he helped Shan Hongyi refine. It was very helpful for mid-foundation establishment cultivators to improve their realm. In the entire Divine Wood sect, only Zheng Wuyu could be 80–90% sure of success with his help. Of course, since Zheng Wuyu had asked someone to make this batch of pills, he also prepared all the medicinal herbs and spiritual plants himself. Shan Hongyi's move has yielded tremendous results. After receiving the pill, he did not linger and immediately took his leave. He couldn't wait to go back and take stock of the losses and gains from this trip. Junior brother Chen, this is yours. Zheng Wuyu handed over another jade box, which Chen Mobai took and opened. Sure enough, there were 3 bamboo fruits, still covered with glistening dew. Clearly they had just been picked. Thank you. Although the main purpose of this trip was to obtain the fruit of the longevity tree, given the current situation, it wasn't a good time to say much more to Yan Jinai. Chen Mobai was already very satisfied with the 3 bamboo fruits he had harvested. After all, he would only consume the longevity tree fruit once he had collected the entire set. As long as Yan Jinai had it, there would always be an opportunity in the future. Senior brother Chen, please allow me to come and express my gratitude after I have fully recovered from my injuries. When Chen Mobai left, Yan Jinai specially saw him off at the door, expressing her deep gratitude. After all, although Shan Hongyi's discovery of the Void Stone Vein was a great achievement for the sect, their survival back from Lonely Soul Ridge was still thanks to Chen Mobai's powerful swordsmanship. By the way, junior sister, I have a little apprentice. Before leaving, Chen Mobai felt that it was too direct to bring up the longevity tree fruit so abruptly, so he used Zhu Ming as an excuse to invite Yan Jinai to come to Xian'anchen to give him some pointers when she had time. Must. Yan Jinai readily agreed, since she rarely had the opportunity to befriend Chen Mobai, her promising senior brother. Now that they have developed a rare bond of friendship, and she has been invited by the other party, she said she would visit in a few days. After returning to Xian'anchen, Chen Mobai began to take stock of his gains. He took an appraisal course this year and learned a thing or two, quickly deducing most of the techniques used to use the gold and jade axe. However, although the refining method is simple, the power of this magical artifact is by no means small. Chen Mobai tried it out, and without the blessing of the Qingyang fire seed, his flying sparrow hairpin was even slightly inferior in terms of pure attack. This golden jade axe can be considered a top-grade second-tier magic weapon. In the market, such magical artifacts can sell for 1,600 to 1,700 spirit stones. If there's an auction, with bidding from interested buyers, the price might even break 2,000 spirit stones. After testing its power, Chen Mobai felt that the flying sparrow hairpin was more suitable for him. The magical artifact that Meng Hong gave him was a testament to his discerning eye, as it perfectly unleashed the power of his azure yang fire seed and purple fire sword light. The combination of these three elements is far superior to the golden jade axe. After putting down the axe, he took out the five-colored lotus lamp again. Using his knowledge of treasure appraisal, he deduced for a while, but only managed to figure out that after injecting spiritual power, it could release a defensive flame. However, Chen Mobai felt that he could use this mysterious magical artifact to hone his ability to appraise treasures. When he has thoroughly understood the function and refining techniques of this magical artifact, then his appraisal skills will be considered to have reached a high level. The main reason is that he will be staying in the Tian realm for a long time recently, and Ming Yihua has been focusing on seclusion and foundation building since he mastered the critical method this year, so he may not have much extra time to help him with the appraisal. After placing the two appraised magical artifacts into his storage bag, Chen Mobai then poured out all his spirit stones. At the Divine Wood sect, Foundation establishment cultivators receive 800 spirit stones annually for cultivation purposes. Chen Mobai still holds a position in the spirit plant department, but since all three main positions are filled, he can only receive a departmental benefit of 600 spirit stones per year as an elder. In total, he received 1,400 spirit stones last year. In addition to the gifts from Meng Hong, and after deducting the money spent on cultivation and the formless puppet, Chen Mobai still had 93 mid-grade spirit stones. Today, I received another 30 mid-grade spirit stones from the Hall of Rewards and Benevolence, which is equivalent to receiving sect benefits for more than 2 years. But all of these combined are not as valuable as the original spirit stone of the white jade altar. This is roughly equivalent to 300 or 400 mid-grade spirit stones. In terms of pure value, it's enough to buy 10 third-tier spirit leaf talismans. However, what excited Chen Mobai the most was the silver-gray array plate in his hand. The books he swept from that cave were actually filled with records of the Netherworld array. The entire collection comprises 12 volumes, providing detailed textual descriptions of everything from selecting suitable terrain, crafting array flags and array plates, to setting up, deploying, nurturing, activating, and using the array. But these were not what shocked Chen Mobai. The contents of the last 3 volumes were so bizarre that even he, a member of the immortal sect, found them unbelievable. This netherworld array can even merge with a person's body. If one refines the array into their body, they can teleport within a certain range. The distance of this teleportation depends on the cultivator's cultivation level and the amount of void stones absorbed by the array plate. Chen Mobai felt that this formation was very suitable for him. After all, he travels between the 2 worlds every day, so he is naturally destined to be acquainted with these spatial spells. Unfortunately, to refine the array into one's body, one must first nurture the array. At least the array plate must be complete. Chen Mobai glanced at the silver-gray array plate in his hand, which Fei Ming Dao Ren had collected 3/4 of, and nodded. It's just one corner away. Who knows, I might see it one day at a street stall in Tianheji Market. Once the array is complete, the cultivator needs to be physically strong, because only those with strong physical bodies can freely traverse the void. This is a bit tricky. After all, Chen Mobai was just a sword cultivator, known for his high attack and low defense. Another method for achieving immortality is also known for its numerous spells and wide applicability. The Divine Wood sect does have many body-tempering methods, the most famous of which is naturally the longevity Dao body. However, considering that this thing requires the sap of the longevity tree to reach its full potential, Chen Mobai felt that he probably couldn't master it. Bai Yiyuan's mixed gold-bronze body is also good, but this technique is most suitable for cultivators with gold spiritual roots. The most powerful effect of the other wood spirit body, water element body, etc., is to assist in the refinement and enhancement of the corresponding attribute of spiritual energy. It is unknown whether the physical strength can meet the requirements of the underworld array. His pure yang dharma body cultivation only enhances his spiritual root, and that innate primordial yang. However, you can look for methods of body tempering at the immortal sects. After all, in terms of cultivation techniques, Chen Mobai still felt that the immortal sects were more mature. Although few people in the immortal sect practice the body tempering technique because it requires a lot of resources, the immortal sect's cultivation system is at least much more complete than that of the heavenly river realm. After pondering for a moment, Chen Mobai solemnly put away the array plate. This trip to Lonely Soul Ridge yielded this netherworld array, whose value even surpasses that of the longevity tree fruit. Indeed, it makes sense that cultivators in the heavenly river realm are so keen on exploring the caves of their predecessors. If you stay in your own sect every day, you'll be safe, but you certainly won't reap such great rewards. Amidst his surging emotions, even Chen Mobai's usually cautious mindset wavered. I had to put 2 drops of clear eyes bamboo dew on my eyes to calm myself down. Zion and Chen Mobai and Yan Jinai chatted happily, while Zhuo Ming served them. There was also a male and a female qi refining disciple dressed in the alchemy department uniform standing respectfully to the side. That's roughly the idea, but turning the 100 herbs pill and nourishing spirit soup into medicinal wine still requires continuous experimentation. After hearing Zhuo Ming's idea, Yan Jinai, relying on his level as a second-tier alchemist, quickly came up with a solution. However, she was, after all, a foundation establishment cultivator, and could not afford to spend too much time on such trivial matters. These 2 are disciples of my alchemy department, and can be considered my subordinates. The 3 of you can exchange ideas more often in the future. The 2 disciples brought by Yan Jinai immediately stepped forward to pay their respects. They were also very interested in this matter, because they could get 2 first-level pill formulas for free. In the heavenly river realm, alchemy formulas are the most precious inheritance among all the arts of cultivation. At Chen Mobai's suggestion, Zhuo Ming led the 2 from the alchemy department to the wine cellar to try it out. I heard that my junior sister obtained a longevity tree fruit in the divine tree secret realm. After the 2 of them were left, Chen Mobai thought for a moment and decided it would be better to ask directly. Did senior brother Zhou tell you this? Only Yan Jinai's master Zheng Wuyu and Zhou Wangshan knew about the secrets of the divine tree realm. The latter was more likely to have leaked the information. I guess so, junior sister Yan, please don't misunderstand. I was just curious. I apologize for the embarrassing situation, senior brother. I did indeed obtain a longevity tree fruit that I dare not consume. Since you brought it up, are you perhaps interested in this longevity tree fruit? As one of the few foundation establishment geniuses of this generation, Yan Jinai was also a person with a clear mind. Chen Mobai only said one sentence, and she understood the meaning behind it. To be honest, before I joined the sect, I received a copy of the alchemy technique. In addition to practicing swordsmanship, I also try to refine some pills. The longevity tree fruit is undoubtedly an extremely precious spiritual fruit. I was wondering if I could use the alchemy technique to remove its side effects, so when I heard that you have some, I took the liberty of asking. Oh, does Senior Brother Chen have any pill formulas in his alchemy inheritance? Yan Jinai's eyes lit up after hearing this. It is important to know that the most crucial factor for an alchemist to grow is how many pill formulas they have. The reason why Zheng Wuyu is the #1 alchemy master of Shenmu sect is because he is a disciple of Ancestor Zhou and has inherited the 24 kinds of alchemy formulas of Shenmu sect. Although Yan Jinai was his disciple, before her teacher passed away, she could only help out by processing medicinal herbs. If you want the sect's pill recipes, you can only rely on accumulating contribution points to exchange for them one by one. She has only exchanged for 4 kinds of pill formulas from the sect so far, because she had used all her contribution points to buy foundation establishment pills. Besides these 2, she also had 3 other pill formulas that she obtained by purchasing or trading them in the markets outside. To her shame, as a second-tier alchemist, she could only refine 5 first-tier pills and 1 second-tier pill. Being able to get the 100 herbs pill and nourishing spirit soup for free today, not to mention the 2 chi refining disciples, even she, a foundation establishment cultivator, felt very happy. There are several prescriptions for pills. Chen Mobai pretended to be hesitant, revealing a hint of what he wanted to say. If Senior Brother's pill formula is valuable enough, I am willing to exchange it for the longevity tree fruit I have. Yan Jinai was a magnanimous woman. Having said all that, she directly took out the jade box containing the longevity tree fruit from her storage bag. What kind of pill formula does Junior Sister need? Oh, could it be that Senior Brother's alchemy inheritance contains many pill formulas? Upon hearing Chen Mobai's words, Yan Jinai's eyes lit up, and she became excited. Not many but not few either. When Chen Mobai said this, he was thinking about the pill formulas that could be downloaded anywhere on the Immortal sect's website. All knowledge in the Immortal sect is shared, but compared to Taoist books and cultivation methods that require points to read and view, pill formulas are basically free. Besides the fact that the Immortal sects stipulate that the formula must be attached to the packaging of every kind of pill or spirit water, it is also because even if you are given the formula, it is very difficult for ordinary cultivators to refine pills that meet the Immortal sect standards and are free of toxicity. Junior Sister, you know the value of pill formulas. Even the most ordinary second-grade low-level pill formula can sell for 2,000 or 3,000 spirit stones on the market. Although Junior Sister and I have a life-or-death friendship, your longevity tree fruit has too many side effects. At most, it can only be exchanged for 2 or 3 pill formulas. Chen Mobai looked at the longevity tree fruit with a troubled expression, seemingly reluctant to exchange it. His reaction made Yan Jinai anxious. Senior Brother, I still have 3,200 spirit stones saved up, plus this longevity tree fruit. Please be kind and give me 3 pill recipes. If you ever need any pills made in the future, I will definitely not delay as long as I have the time. Who needs you to refine pills anymore? I've already trained Qing Nu. Despite thinking this to himself, Chen Mobai sighed helplessly, his expression still somewhat unwilling. End of this chapter. Chapter 264 Elixir Recipe, Exchanged for Tree Fruit. Chapter 264 Elixir Recipe, Exchanged for Tree Fruit. I will never forget the great kindness and virtue of Senior Brother Chen. After receiving the pill formula, Yan Jinai excitedly emptied all the spirit stones from her storage bag. Chen Mobai still looked troubled. As if he had suffered a great loss, he took Yan Jinai's dozen or so mid-grade spirit stones and a large pile of low-grade spirit stones into his storage bag. Junior Sister, this pill formula is so expensive that you can only study and refine it yourself. You must never pass it on to anyone else. After Chen Mobai gave him some instructions, Yan Jinai, being an expert, immediately made a solemn vow of Tao heart. Her teacher, Zheng Wuyu, was the same. Although he inherited all the pill formulas of the Shenmu sect, he could only comprehend and ponder them on his own. Therefore, if Yan Jinai wanted any pill formulas, he could only purchase or trade them himself. In the Celestial River realm, knowledge is truly precious. After seeing off Yan Jinai, who had a bountiful harvest but was now empty of spirit stones, and eager to study the 3 newly acquired pill formulas, Chen Mobai turned around and smiled as he picked up the jade box on the table. Upon opening it, a fist-sized fruit with a gray casing and a white mark came into view. This is the fruit of the immortal tree. As Chen Mobai reached out and picked up the fruit, he felt as if he were holding an extremely heavy and powerful mass of energy. According to the description of the 2-phase rotation technique, a white mark represents a small fruit. It's just right, very suitable. If he takes it now, he can break through to the mid-foundation establishment stage in a very short time. However, Chen Mobai would not be so reckless. This fruit can be preserved for a long time, as long as its outer shell is not broken. He put the longevity tree fruit back into the jade box with satisfaction. A tall building starts from the ground up. Having the first fruit is at least a good start. If he could actually collect a set of the 3 fruits, he would consider consuming them. Otherwise, he would consider it as collecting a rare and precious treasure. However, now that we have the first fruit, we should start thinking about replenishing our lifespan. Naturally, this matter will not be resolved within the heavenly river realm. Chicheng Cave Heaven has a longevity academy, which is a university that specializes in this field. It seems that there is some kind of event in the second half of the year, and all the universities in the Cave Heaven will participate. He could try to represent the Dance Weapon Academy, and then have a chat with the students of Yanshu Academy. It's a pity that Kong Feiken went to the Ascension sect. Otherwise, we could have asked him to look up relevant information at the Imperial Medical Academy. However, the source of alchemy in the immortal sects is Jumeng Dao Academy, so perhaps we could ask Qing Nu for advice. With this in mind, Chen Mobai left Zhu Ming a communication talisman to signal her to go into seclusion, and then sealed off the summit of Zionan Mountain once again. Having obtained the longevity tree fruit from Yan Jinai, he had achieved his purpose in staying in the heavenly river realm, and could now return to the immortal sect to attend to the matters he had been considering. Amidst the shimmering silver light, Chen Mobai opened his eyes and found himself back in the Wanbao cave. He first called Qingnu to deepen their friendship, and also to ask if she would be free at the end of the year. The Qingmu bamboo spirit dew is almost used up, and I would like to ask Qingnu to help me refine 2 more portions. Since Zhu Guo can only be redeemed with credits at the end of the year, he only wanted to arrange a meeting with Qingnu at the end of the year first. While we're at it, let's also inquire about lifespan supplementation over the phone. However, the call didn't go through. Only an automatically generated text message returned. It turns out that Qingnu recently felt that her opportunity had arrived, and she had vaguely grasped the essence of the Tao. She was already in seclusion to build her foundation. Not just Chen Mobai, but everyone's phone calls went unanswered. After reading the text message, Chen Mobai was genuinely happy for Qingnu. After all, he didn't have many friends along the way. Qingnu was one of his best friends. If he is able to form his core in the long term, the only friend who will stay by his side at that time is probably Qingnu, who has a heavenly spiritual root. You can definitely succeed. After replying to a text message, Chen Mobai left Wanbao Cave. If Qingnu can't be relied on for the time being, Chen Mobai still has another good brother, Wang Xingyu. As the top alchemist of the 5012th cohort, he has already passed the second-level alchemist certificate exam, making him a true genius. Moreover, it was Wang Xingyu who helped Chen Mobai select a high-quality vermilion fruit last year, and he also contributed to the success of Qingnu's Qingmu bamboo spirit dew. However, Chen Mobai was a little worried when he thought that he had 3 bamboo fruits now, but not enough credits at the end of the year to exchange for 3 vermilion fruits. It takes 20 credits for 1 second-tier vermilion fruit, If he hadn't gotten 10 semesters of free credits from the sword control department this year, he probably would only be able to exchange for one by the end of the year. After flying out of Wanbao Cave, Chen Mobai immediately called Wang Xingyu. "Old Chen, this is a rare sight indeed." Wang Xingyu's surprised voice came from the phone. "Brother, the bamboo grower from last year has 3 more bamboo fruits that have ripened. Could you pick out 3 more high-quality red fruits for me?" "No problem, but do you have enough credits?" "Enough to exchange for 2. Wang Xingyu was also a very loyal person. After the call ended, he immediately asked Chen Mobai to come to building number 3 and led him to a gnarled and leafy red fruit tree. On the thickest brown branch, 3 bright red fruits were growing, looking like rubies from afar, full of vitality. "These 3 fruits are of absolutely excellent quality." Chen Mobai nodded in agreement, then asked Wang Xingyu if he was confident in refining the clear-eye bamboo spirit dew. "It is possible to refine it, but to say that I am absolutely certain of success would be a lie. This stuff is rather unorthodox. Unless it is done by a third-level alchemist or someone who specializes in it, the resulting pills will almost always have excessive levels of toxicity." "They're all good brothers," Wang Xingyu said, speaking the truth. "What if there's a spirit essence? If I were to add this treasure, I could give it a try, but I'm still 50% sure I'd have an excessive amount of erysipelas. In other words, there's still not much confidence. She's not as good as Qingnu. She succeeded on her first try." Chen Mobai made a silent comparison in his mind. However, even if he has erysipelas, he's not afraid as long as the levels aren't too high. The newly mastered lamplighting technique finally came in handy. "I happen to have some spiritual essence on hand. Could you help me refine it? You can name your price." Chen Mobai has always been direct in his actions, and he always says things outright. "You have it. This thing is extremely rare. Our mentor said it's to train our alchemy skills under extremely harsh conditions. They basically don't distribute spiritual essence to us. In reality, they just withhold our share for themselves." Wang Xingyu said with a complaining look. "It seems that the instructors in our alchemy department don't get along as well as the instructors and students in other departments. By the way, where did you get your spiritual essence? Isn't the monthly quota for this stuff exclusively for our alchemy department?" Upon hearing this, Chen Mobai calmly gave the excuse he had already prepared. "As you know, I am a puppet type. Spirit stones are used as an energy source. They are easily damaged after repeated use." "That's true." Upon hearing this, Wang Xingyu thought of Chen Mobai's bamboo fruit and asked, "By the way, old Chen, do you have a lot of spiritual essence?" These words made Chen Mobai hesitate for a moment. He has more of this stuff than he could ever want. The elixir formulas of the immortal sects and the spiritual essence of the heavenly river realm are inexhaustible and precious treasures for him. But one should not flaunt one's wealth, even if the person opposite is one's good brother. One should still keep some things to oneself. There are some, but not many. Upon hearing this, Wang Xingyu shook his head with a regretful expression. "If you have a lot, I can help you make connections." One of our seniors in the alchemy department exchanged a vermilion fruit at the end of last year. He originally wanted to refine a fire essence pill, but because the merchant did not cultivate one of the key ingredients well, the efficacy was not up to standard, and the vermilion fruit is still shelved. If you're willing to exchange it for spiritual essence, he'll definitely agree. After hearing these words, Chen Mobai's tone immediately changed. "I don't have much, but my teacher has saved up quite a bit." Director Qi. It was common knowledge among everyone in their generation that Chen Mobai had become Qi Yucheng's disciple. Wang Xingyu had no doubts. "Brother, could you ask around for me first? Once the Zhu fruit is picked, it can only be preserved for a year or 2 at most. If I can take it over and he can get rid of it, it's a win-win situation." Chen Mobai's words made a lot of sense, and Wang Xingyu immediately made a phone call. With both parties interested, a deal was quickly reached. Chen Mobai pretended to have gone to Qi Yucheng's office and returned, handing Wang Xingyu a bulging bag of spiritual essence. The latter, acting as an intermediary, confidently left with the bag of essence. Half an hour later, Chen Mobai looked at the vermilion fruit he had brought over and was very satisfied. In this way, he won't have to stop taking his medication. You can keep using the clear eye bamboo spirit dew until the end of the year, and then exchange it for 2 vermilion fruits, which will be enough for another year. However, even though the 2 main medicines are ready, the auxiliary medicines still need to be purchased from the heavenly river realm. Chen Mobai was also surprised that he was able to obtain the vermilion fruit so quickly. Having already gained experience once, and having also learned how to identify medicinal herbs this year, Chen Mobai was able to accurately translate all 24 auxiliary medicines into the names of the heavenly river realm. This matter was entrusted to the eldest disciple, Liu Wenbai, who had just emerged from seclusion after consolidating his qi refining level 9 cultivation. He confidently stated that he would complete the task within 3 days. Soon, Chen Mobai handed over the complete set of the 2 main ingredients and 24 auxiliary ingredients of the clear eye bamboo spirit due to Wang Xingyu. As for the reward for alchemy, at Wang Xingyu's insistence, it was changed from merit points to 2 pieces of spiritual essence. Chen Mobai would never betray his good brother, so he immediately gave him 3 pieces of spirit essence, which made Wang Xingyu extremely excited. After finishing this task, Chen Mobai carried a basket of fruit to visit his teacher, Qi Yucheng. Because I had been staying in Wanbao Cave for a long time, I hadn't attended his puppet class for a long time. Fortunately, the knowledge was already his own, so I hadn't become rusty. Qi Yucheng had essentially passed on his puppetry skills to Chen Mobai. All that remained was practice and creation exercises. That's basically how it is in the immortal sects. After reaching the foundation establishment stage, due to their powerful divine sense, they can basically learn all kinds of knowledge on their own. The difference lies in whether or not they spend time and effort to improve. Chen Mobai felt a little ashamed, as he had been busy honing his magic skills and hadn't really put much effort into puppetry. But Qi Yucheng didn't say anything to him. After all, Chen Mobai had only just established his foundation and had more than 200 years to go. Generally, foundation establishment cultivators only devote their time to various cultivation arts when their cultivation has reached a bottleneck and cannot be improved. Although Qi Yucheng didn't say it, Chen Mobai secretly made up his mind that he must practice puppetry when he had time. By the way, teacher, I heard there's some kind of Chicheng Dongshan University Alliance exchange meeting at the end of the year. Chen Mobai asked about the matter he had inquired about. Not bad, what are you interested? I'm stuck at the Qi refining perfection stage of the pure Yang scroll, unable to seize the opportunity to reach foundation establishment. I was thinking of exchanging ideas with geniuses from other universities to see if I could get some inspiration. In reality, he just wanted to find a student from the Longevity Academy to exchange ideas, but he couldn't reveal that he might be consuming his lifespan, so Chen Mo didn't dare to be too explicit. This year's Chicheng Cave Heaven University Alliance exchange meeting is a little different. The Tao Academy may send some senior students. How are they different? Chen Mobai was a little confused. It just so happens to be the 6,000th anniversary of the founding of the immortal city of Chicheng Cave. There will be important figures from the immortal sects coming over. Besides our Dance Weapon Academy, the other 3 major academies will probably also send people to join in the fun. Upon hearing this, Chen Mobai sensed that things might get a little troublesome. After thinking about it, I decided to forget about it. Anyway, I haven't collected all the immortal tree fruits yet, so I can wait until the next one. However, since you are interested as your teacher, I will definitely make arrangements for you. Don't worry, there will definitely be a spot for you in our academy this time. But little did he know, Qi Yucheng misunderstood that he really wanted to find the opportunity to establish his foundation and directly took on the task. If Chen Mobai were to refuse at this point, it wouldn't just be a slap in his own face. He could only grit his teeth and force a smile as he thanked Qi Yucheng. After leaving the office, Chen Mobai felt a little frustrated because he had made a mess of things. Thinking that it had been a long time since I had contacted my good brothers, I invited Ming Yihua and Yun Yangbing out for drinks. Unfortunately, Ming Yihua didn't answer the phone. After calling Yun Yangbing, I learned that Ming Yihua had also gone into seclusion to cultivate his foundation. Since mastering the critical point technique, Ming Yihua had no other thoughts but focused on foundation establishment. After feeling his energy and spirit return to their peak, he once again plunged into the cultivation room. Although he knew the other members of the nascent soul class, Chen Mobai usually interacted more with Wang Xingyu, who was also focused on refining the clear-eye bamboo spirit dew. Therefore, Chen Mobai could only drink with Yun Yangbing. I'd also like to ask you about the process of refining arrays into the body. They discovered that the immortal sects also have similar cultivation techniques. Look! Yun Yangbing showed Chen Mobai his right little finger. The fingernails are black, which is quite noticeable. Why did you get your nails done? Nonsense, I'm using a spirit gathering array to enter my body. It's just that my cultivation is weak, so I can only try the spirit gathering array here first. Don't underestimate my small fingernail. It can raise a first-tier spirit vein to the second tier. Upon hearing Yun Yangbing's words, Chen Mobai couldn't help but marvel. The immortal sects really do have all sorts of cultivation systems. End of this chapter. Chapter 265, The Treasure Map. Chapter 265, The Treasure Map. In the history of the immortal sect, there was a brilliant fifth-tier array master who proposed the ultimate concept of array formations. It is a single person who can transform into an array, encompassing the sun, moon, stars, mountains, rivers, clouds, and seas, omnipresent and all-encompassing. However, to integrate the array into one's body, one needs a physique compatible with the array and a sufficiently powerful divine sense. Yun Yangbing passed the exam to become a second-tier array master in the immortal sect, but he only dared to refine a small spirit-gathering array on his fingernail as a small attempt to try this path. Even so, he only managed to complete it under the guidance of his array formation teacher. However, it was precisely because of refining the spirit-gathering array into his body that Yun Yangbing's mastery in this field began to advance by leaps and bounds. Last year, he even developed a special spirit-gathering array that could upgrade a third-grade high-quality spiritual vein to the fourth grade. It was precisely by using this formation that Ming Yihua was able to condense 10 drops of liquid pure yang spiritual power during his first attempt at foundation establishment. Chen Mobai asked Yun Yangbing to provide some introductory books, all of which could be borrowed from the library of the Dance Weapon Academy. Half a month later, he received the Kingmu's Yuling Du, which contained 0.6% more erysipelas, from a ashamed Wang Xingyu. Wang Xingyu is an honest man. He wanted to return the spirit essence and compensate Chen Mobai for his losses, but the latter treated him like a brother and was unwilling to accept it. When you ask someone to refine pills, you have to accept some risk of failure. Don't worry about it. After all, I chose you to refine the pills. Chen Mobai comforted the guilty-looking Wang Xingyu and returned to the Myriad Treasures Cave with the Kingmu Bamboo Spirit Dew, which was of exceptionally pure quality for the Tian realm. He first tested it with 1 drop. The effects of the spiritual dew were almost identical to those of the one Qingnu had refined before. After all, it was only 0.6% erysipelas, which Chen Mobai considered to be erysipelas-free. However, after using it, when activating the lamp-burning technique, I felt a slight, almost imperceptible warmth in my left eye where the drops had been applied. Then another drop was dripped, this time to deliver the medicinal effects into the purple mansion sea of consciousness. After being watered with the clear-eye bamboo dew, the ficus microcarpa seedlings became even greener and more vibrant. When the lamp-burning technique is applied to the divine sense, it only produces the same warm sensation as usual. After confirming that there was nothing wrong with the clear-eye bamboo spirit dew refined by Wang Xingyu, Chen Mobai began to use it without any qualms. Just then, Kingnu's concoction was also completely exhausted. After half a year of cultivation, The insightful eye has made great progress. Before discovering the artifact-containing sphere during his first entry into the Wanbao cave, Chen Mobai floated in the tunnel, a clear, bright light appearing in his eyes. Previously, they could only see a vague outline of the long, rectangular magical artifact, but now they could see its specific form. His guess was correct. It was indeed a flying sword. However, the flying sword seems to have broken, which is why it is constantly absorbing refined iron energy to repair itself. Chen Mobai's insightful eyes could even clearly see that the wound between the two severed sections of the flying sword had already healed by half. The grade of this flying sword is still impossible to determine. After all, the chi-containing sphere is one of the masterpieces of the Dance Weapon Academy. Once sealed, it isolates the inside from the outside, making it almost a complete little world. If this flying sword didn't need to absorb the refined iron energy of the red iron ore to repair itself, and instead used an open seal, unless Chen Mobai's void insight eye had reached an extremely high level, he probably wouldn't even be able to see its shape. Chen Mobai was not discouraged by this. He continued his cultivation steadily at his own pace. The unique fire spiritual energy of the Myriad Treasures Cave, combined with his already excellent fire spiritual root, allowed him to hone his fire attribute spells to a higher level of proficiency. On this day, Chen Mobai was practicing the Binghuo Divine Thunder technique, when suddenly a strange spiritual power emanated from the tunnel wall beside him. Then a head popped out from inside. Upon seeing this, Chen Mobai's hand trembled, and a burst of crimson lightning struck out, landing on the head of the mysterious creature like a whack-a-mole. With a loud bang. At the critical moment, Chen Mobai remembered that this was a celestial sect, and anyone who could appear in the Wanbao cave must be a student of the Wuki Dao Academy. He used his divine sense to deflect the crimson lightning by an inch, and at the same time, the head quickly retracted. The divine lightning of the Bing fire grazes his scalp, striking the tunnel wall and leaving a long, fist-deep mark. If the mountain walls weren't filled with hematite, his bolt of lightning would have caused the place to collapse. Call! The head popped out from the mountain wall again, and Chen Mobai saw clearly this time that it was a short-haired, round-faced boy with a look of lingering fear on his face. "Senior, I'm sorry my Earth Chinese letter disturbed you, but you didn't have to be so ruthless." The round-faced boy touched his bald patch on his scalp and spoke with lingering fear. Chen Mobai looked apologetic upon hearing this. "Sorry, Senior. I was practicing my spells and got so startled that I lost control and shot you with electricity." They both called each other Senior. Chen Mobai knew that he was the newest Foundation Establishment student at the Dance Weapon Academy, and that all the Foundation Establishment students in the Myriad Treasures Cave, except for Zhongli Tianyu, were older than him. The round-faced boy, however, sensed the power of the lightning bolt and realized he was no match for it, assuming Chen Mobai was a Foundation Establishment cultivator from the highest grade. After exchanging names, Chen Mobai learned that the person in front of him was named Mi Yudao, a student from the class of 2009 and an 8th-year Foundation Establishment cultivator. He is proficient in Earth Chinese letter. Earth Chinese letter is a type of magic that allows one to escape from the earth, and is now considered one of the teaching assistants in the Mineral Resources Department. "Junior Chen, you guys from the class of 2012 have left a particularly deep impression on me." Upon learning that Chen Mobai was only a 5th grader, Mi Yudao sighed with emotion, marveling at how the younger generation surpasses the older, and then said something that surprised Chen Mobai. "You've met Zhongli Tianyu before." "Well, last year I accidentally wandered into the place where he was cultivating, and got bumped on the head by his technique of turning soil into steel." Mi Yudao pointed somewhat embarrassedly to the bald patch on his head, which was exactly the spot that had been swollen up last year by Zhongli Tianyu's magic. "Senior Mi, it's really inappropriate for you to use Earth escape technique so recklessly." Chen Mobai said something tactfully. Qin Baikin had told him about the rules of Wanbao Cave. Once someone sets up an array or restriction, other students should not disturb them. After all, this place is so deep, and the tunnel is almost infinitely vast for all the Foundation establishment students in the academy, so why cause conflict in one place? I was just following the student council's instructions to find the artifact orbs, but who knew you'd already taken them all? I shouldn't have come. Miyudo muttered to himself, glancing at the white jade ball buried in hematite above Chen Mobai's head, and couldn't help but shake his head and sigh. Oh, so the student council can still manage things related to Wanbyaku. Chen Mobai found it strange that the student council of the Dance Weapon Academy had almost no presence among the students from the 1st to the 6th grade, but it was an undeniable major force within the academy. As one of the top 10 dancers of the class of 2012, Chen Mobai once received an invitation to join the student council. However, he was busy obtaining Foundation establishment pills at that time and didn't even reply. Besides him, Ming Yihua, Wang Xingyu, Yun Yangbing, and other members of the nascent soul class also received invitations, but they all refused outright because they were too proud of themselves. Even gentle people like Lan Yufan and Lu Zixuan said they wouldn't consider this matter before reaching the Foundation establishment stage. We don't really care, but there are many extraordinary people in the student council. They collected information left by previous graduates and combined it with their own exploration results, searches, and deductions to create a treasure map. The map marks the exact locations of thousands of artifact-containing orbs in the Myriad Treasures Cave. They have also offered a reward of 5 academic credits for anyone who can find an artifact-containing orb outside the Myriad Treasures Cave. And someone like me, who helps the student council complete the information on the treasure sphere recorded on the treasure map, can also get 1 credit. Miyudo did not hide anything. He had found Chen Mobai by following the instructions of the student union's treasure map. So the student council already considers this artifact-containing sphere theirs. Chen Mobai frowned, looking somewhat displeased. Although he didn't really need this flying sword, it was still his only acquisition in the past 6 months. To find out that it had already been marked by someone else made him feel inexplicably resentful. That's not it. Opening a weapon-containing sphere requires 100 credits. Even if all the credits of the student council are added together, they can only exchange for a maximum of 10 weapon fragments. The creation of this treasure map is a task passed down through generations of the student council in order to prevent the sealing of certain artifact spheres from exceeding the time limit, causing the Xuanhu spirit liquid to lose its effectiveness and the magical artifacts inside to decay. Any member of the student council can view the information on the treasure map for free and find the information on the magical artifacts they need. This will save everyone a lot of time. Upon hearing this, Chen Mobai suddenly realized what was happening. He had been thinking that the nourishing elixir only had a 100-year effect. If some artifact spheres were hidden deep inside and never discovered by later generations, wouldn't they just rot away in vain? Clearly, the higher-ups at the academy had also noticed this, so they put the student council in charge of the matter. I'm not a member of the student council. Can I still access the treasure map? That's possible, but you'll need to pay an information fee for 2 credits. After listening to Miyudo's words, Chen Mobai thought about it and felt that he could afford to give out those credits. How do I pay? I'll take you there. With Chen Mobai in tow, Miyudo naturally couldn't use earth magic anymore. He emerged from the mountain wall and led Chen Mobai out of the cave entrance. Then it rose to a height of about 1,000 meters and flew into a wide opening with a diameter of nearly 30 meters. The two continued along this path, and Chen Mobai soon heard the sound of a rushing stream. This is an underground current. I never expected it to be here. Looking at the clear, transparent water in front of him, and the vast cavity on the opposite side of the current that had been hollowed out, about 200 meters wide, Chen Mobai couldn't help but marvel. In the huge void opposite that undercurrent, there were quite a few stone houses and a square that resembled a marketplace. Chen Mobai followed Miyudo across the undercurrent and saw many stone houses with white jade-like artifact spheres hanging at their entrances. These are sealed, so there's no problem taking them out. At the end of the year, Everyone will put these in the square and choose one to open. That scene will be truly spectacular. After hearing Miyudo's words, Chen Mobai imagined the dazzling scene of more than a dozen magical artifacts flying out of the white jade ball and couldn't help but nod. Since it's a sealed seal, there's no way of knowing what kind of magical artifact is sealed inside, or whether a corrupted artifact might be present. Yes, it does, but it all depends on luck. Do you know about jade gambling? This is the highest level of jade gambling in the immortal sect. Upon hearing this, Chen Mobai was slightly taken aback at first, then his expression showed realization. And you know what? The term gambling on stones is a very apt description. He activated his void-piercing eyes and examined a sealed artifact sphere, only to find it completely chaotic and impenetrable. A wave of disappointment washed over me. You've also cultivated the spirit eye technique. Doesn't that mean you've already seen everything inside that artifact-containing sphere? Miyudo's eyes lit up when he saw the clear, bright light flashing in Chen Mobai's eyes. I guess so. What's wrong? I can use the information from that artifact orb to exchange for credits with the student council. Isn't that why I went there? Just for 1 credit. Upon hearing this, Chen Mobai immediately recalled what Miyudo had said earlier and nodded in agreement. He happened to have many flying swords and wasn't interested in broken swords. Arriving at a 3-story villa in the center of the square, Miyudo explained that this was the student council's headquarters. The person on duty inside was a young man with a stern face. Tiansuan, why are you the one looking after the house? Miyudo seemed to know the old-fashioned young man and greeted him familiarly. Get to the point. The young man's surname was Liu, and his given name was Tiansuan, a very imposing name. He and Miyudo were in the same year. This is Chen Mobai from the class of 2012, and also the youngest foundation establishment cultivator in our academy. Miyudo, with his mild temperament, directly introduced Chen Mobai to Liu Tiansuan. The latter listened without changing his expression, seemingly always having the same look on his face. Viewing the treasure map once earns 2 credits. Chen Mobai nodded and handed over his student ID. The academy originally did not allow students to trade credits, but the treasure map is one of the only permitted channels for credit trading. As Miyudo spoke from the side, Liu Tiansuan took out a tablet after accumulating credits and opened an app with a treasure icon. Tell me your requirements for the magical artifact, the more specific the better, and I'll help you search for it. Chen Mobai understood. The treasure map was actually a search engine, and each search opportunity cost 2 credits. Wouldn't that give the Turtle Treasure's agents another opportunity to shine? Ideally, it should be of the 3rd rank, suitable for cultivators with fire spirit roots to use as a companion. Unfortunately, he found out too late. The credits had already been paid, and Chen Mobai couldn't bring himself to back out. He could only state his demands. Liu Tiansuan and Miyudo rolled their eyes at the same time. If this treasure map could pinpoint which artifact contains a 3rd-tier magic weapon, it wouldn't only charge you so few credits. End of this chapter. Chapter 266, Using the Sap of the Tree of Immortality. Chapter 266, Using the Sap of the Tree of Immortality. 6 Yang Divine Fire Mirror, Radiant Fan, Azure Flame Binding, Crimson Jade Silk, Brahma Crossbow, Lee Fire Bell, Great Sun Golden Needle. Looking at the names and images of the 7 magical artifacts displayed on the tablet, Chen Mobai felt that the 2 credits were well worth the money. Even the principal probably doesn't know exactly how many 3rd-tier magic artifacts are in the treasure cave. The treasure map passed down by our student council will only list those that are certain to exist. Liu Tiansuan obtained Chen Mobai's contact information, packaged the results of this search into a file, and sent it to him. In other words, these 7 3rd-tier magic artifacts are definitely somewhere in the Myriad Treasures Cave. After receiving the document, Chen Mobai's gaze became intense. You should know that in the Heavenly River realm, even the cheapest 3rd-tier magic weapon costs tens of thousands of spirit stones. After all, these are magical artifacts used by core formation cultivators. Some of the higher quality ones can even serve as embryos for natal magic treasures, making their value immeasurable. We can only confirm that these 7 magical artifacts were once sealed inside the artifact-containing sphere and placed in the Myriad Treasures Cave. As for whether they are still there now, that is not something we can guarantee. Lu Tianxuan was a meticulous person, and his words were watertight, leaving no flaws whatsoever. After all, even if some students find something good, they won't make a big fuss about it. So we can only try our best to improve the information and content on the treasure map. The one who said this was Mi Yudo, who usually earned credits by improving the information of Wanbiado. The artifact-containing sphere I discovered earlier should contain a broken flying sword with a metal attribute. Chen Mobai sold the information about the artifact sphere he discovered to the student council, since it was worth 1 credit, and he figured he might as well make some money. Okay, thank you for the information. After listening to Chen Mobai's description, Lu Tianxuan compared the information with the graduate files treasured in the student council and had 4 or 5 guesses about the origin of the flying sword. After finishing their business, Mi Yudo left with Chen Mobai. Junior, are you interested in teaming up with me? Mi Yudo is skilled in Earth Chinese letter. Earth Chinese letter is a type of magic escaping technique. If he combines it with Chen Mobai's Chinese letter, spiritual eye technique, they can earn a small amount of academic credits. Chen Mobai thought about it and felt that it made a lot of sense. After all, finding the artifact-containing orb is the most difficult part. Once you find it, it's actually quite simple to use various methods to examine the sealed artifact inside. It just so happens that Mi Yudo found 8 artifact spheres this year that were not recorded in the Wanbao map, 4 of which were sealed and 4 were sealed. The 4 sealed individuals were also seen by another Foundation establishment cultivator in the student council who practiced the spirit eye technique, so he had to share the information fee for that 1 credit. Since you've said so, I'm naturally happy to accept. You don't need to give me the credits after all, it's your hard work. Chen Mobai simply wanted to broaden his horizons. Moreover, if he were to search for a 3rd-tier magic weapon on his own, who knows how long it would take. It would be better to just find someone like Mi Yudo who is a professional. Walk. Chen Mobai followed Mi Yudo to a magical artifact sphere hanging at the entrance of the tunnel. Activating his insightful eyes, he saw a bell-shaped magical artifact inside, seemingly guarding the entrance to the tunnel and absorbing fire spiritual energy. Next, we went to 3 other places that were sealed off. Inside there was a pagoda, a jade book, and a water-dividing fork. Not bad, junior brother. Your spiritual vision technique is no worse than Vice President Ming's. You see exactly the same things. After testing Chen Mobai's quality, Mi Yudo nodded in satisfaction. Then I took him to see the remaining 4 sealed artifact orbs. Unfortunately, no matter how hard Chen Mobai tried, he couldn't see the shape of the magical artifact inside. This artifact sphere, Vice President Ming saw a square shadow and said it might be a box. Mi Yudo pointed to a magical artifact sphere placed in the underground current and said something that slightly surprised Chen Mobai. It should be noted that this artifact sphere was sealed tightly. To be able to see through such a seal, it seems that Vice President Ming's spiritual eye technique is superior to his own. Not exactly. It's just that his spiritual eye technique is biased towards water, so if the sealed magical artifact is water attribute, he can see a little bit of a blurry outline. After hearing Chen Mobai's lament, Mi Yudo shook his head and explained the reason. And you, what type of spiritual eye do you cultivate? Let it burn. Chen Mobai hesitated for a moment, but still mentioned an attribute. In fact, the Void Insight Eye does not favor any attribute. It is the most common and widely applicable eye technique among immortal sects. What a pity, it would be better if it were of the metal or earth element. Mi Yudo looked regretful. He possessed a true spiritual root with both metal and earth attributes, which was why he was able to cultivate the Earth Chinese letter, Earth Escape technique, allowing him to freely travel underground. The reason he spent so much time working hard in Wanbao Cave was to find a suitable third-tier metal, an earth magic weapon. However, it has been nearly 20 years since anyone in the Dance Weapon Academy has successfully created a third-tier magic weapon. After bidding him farewell, Chen Mobai randomly found a tunnel entrance, set up an array of restrictions to announce that someone was there, and began looking at the information on the 7 third-tier magic artifacts that Lu Tianxuan had given him. It not only contains the certificate of authenticity for the ritual implement, but also the life story of the previous user. Even the year it was placed in the Wanbao cave is recorded. Most remarkably, it even included the incantation for practicing and using the ritual implements. All I can say is that those 2 credits were well spent, or perhaps the Dance Weapon Academy Student Union deliberately wanted them to open more weapon balls. After all, once you get the incantation for the ritual, you'll have a subtle feeling that all you're missing is the ritual implement. After reading the descriptions of the 7 third-tier magic artifacts, Chen Mobai felt a strong urge to try them. He took out his own artifact fragment, eager to open it and see if his luck was good or bad. However, he eventually calmed down. As long as I continue to cultivate the void-piercing eye, I will one day be able to see through the sealed artifact sphere. Thinking this, Chen Mobai dripped 2 more drops of clear eye bamboo spirit dew onto himself. After completing his training in the fire attribute spells in the treasure cave, Chen Mobai was teleported to the Divine Tree Secret Realm to continue practicing the wood attribute spells from the scripture of immortality. After mastering the spells of both systems, Chen Mobai was about to go to Zion Ancient to show his face again. Looking at the towering magic tree in front of him, he suddenly remembered that he still had a drop of immortality tree sap. Can this thing be used to cultivate the void-piercing spirit eye? Using his own body for experiments is not Chen Mobai's style. So he went to the library of the Shenmu sect. As a foundation establishment elder, he could receive 3 qi cultivation techniques for free every year. Last year, I helped Zhu Ming get the Earth Mother technique and 2 other cultivation techniques whose names I've forgotten. I haven't used this access this year yet, so I can exchange it for a longevity Dao Body Qi refining manual to take a look at. After greeting that senior brother Hu, I discovered that the longevity body technique didn't have a qi refining chapter. Only by establishing a foundation can one begin to cultivate. Helpless, I could only give them 1 mid-grade spirit stone and a deluxe edition book. Back at Zion Ancient, they first patrolled 60 acres of fertile land. Under Zhu Ming's meticulous care, coupled with the gathering of earth energy and the condensation of the mother energy of all things during the cultivation of the Earth Mother technique, the rice seeds in these spiritual fields are full of vitality, even better than the ones Chen Mobai planted in Zioyang Ridge last year. However, this is not because Zhu Ming's agricultural knowledge has surpassed his, but because the spiritual fields on Zioyang Ridge are only at the first level, while the 60 acres of spiritual fields below Zionan Mountain, after they turned the soil and added fertilizer last year, are already at the second level. The 10 acres with the most abundant spiritual energy were planted with jade bamboo, in preparation for the Shenmu sect's only second-tier spiritual rice. It looks like we'll have a good harvest this year. He reached out and grabbed a handful of soil, then put on his gold-rimmed glasses to examine the vast expanse of spiritual energy. Seeing the once barren spiritual field thriving and even gathering spiritual energy from Zionan Mountain, Chen Mobai was very satisfied with Zhu Ming's work. If things continue like this, perhaps in a few decades, this little South Mountain will be upgraded to a 4th-order spiritual vein. Speaking of spiritual veins, Chen Mobai thought of Yunyang Bing again. His good brother has a special spirit-gathering array that can enhance spiritual veins, right? If he sets one up on the mountaintop, at least he can enjoy it for a while. Even if you can't reach the 4th tier, the top 3rd tier is still very good. Chen Mobai was still thinking about whether to make a set for his 2 disciples as well, but after thinking about it, he realized that Jumu Ridge was not a celestial sect, and Liu Wenbai and Zhu Ming were not lacking in spiritual energy at all. Moreover, if one's cultivation level is raised too hastily, the foundation will be unstable, which will become a hidden danger when one establishes the foundation in the future. After all, not everyone is like him, able to combine the cultivation techniques of the immortal sects and the resources of the heavenly river realm to forcibly establish a foundation. A little while later, Zhu Ming also arrived. She was accompanied by 2 disciples from the alchemy department, who bowed to Chen Mobai upon arriving. "Master, why didn't you call out to me when you came out of seclusion? When stillness sets in, restlessness sets in. Don't worry about me, I'll just take a look around." Chen Mobai sprinkled the soil in his hand, clapped his hands, and then turned around and went back to Zion Enshin. Just as Zhu Ming was about to report on the progress of the spirit wine development, he saw his master fly into the sky and could only shake his head helplessly before leading 2 disciples from the alchemy department back to the winery. At the foot of Zion Mountain, Zhu Ming built many wooden houses, not only for the mortals who tilled the soil and planted seeds, but also to store spirit rice and spirit wine. Chen Mobai initially tried to get involved, but seeing how capable Zhu Ming was, he has completely given up on her this year. After reading about the longevity body, Chen Mobai couldn't help but nod. This sap from the tree of immortality can be applied to any part of the body. According to the explorations of the ancestors of the Divine Wood sect, this is the best body-tempering spiritual item in the entire eastern wilderness. Not only does it have no side effects, but if there are enough of them, it can break the shackles of talent and continuously advance. There are only 3 realms of the Taoist body for achieving immortality: agelessness, immortality, and eternal life. The orthodox method of body tempering requires refining all 206 bones of the human body into a drop of the sap of the immortal tree, thus creating an indestructible skeleton. Then, through the bone network, the power of the sap of the immortal tree permeates the internal organs, muscles, skin, meridians, acupoints, and so on from the inside out. In other words, if you want to cultivate spiritual eyes, you can first refine the bones near your eye sockets with the sap of the longevity tree. It is said that body-strengthening techniques are methods for developing the inherent power of the human body's blood vessels. Some cultivators with ordinary spiritual roots can awaken innate supernatural abilities by practicing body-tempering techniques, thus paving a broader and smoother path for themselves. However, after reading it, Chen Mobai had no intention of cultivating the longevity body at all. Because without the sap of the longevity tree, it would be almost impossible to master this technique by simply refining spiritual energy and absorbing spirit stones on one's own. The Shenmu sect uses 206 drops of the longevity tree sap to refine into the bone marrow, and then distribute it throughout the body via the bone network, which is already the most economical method. Moreover, this is only the first level of immortality. Chen Mobai took out a drop of the sap from the tree of immortality and dripped it into the upper jawbone of his left eye. Instantly, he felt a gentle, yet immense life force merging into him. He activated the burning lamp technique to refine life force, manually spreading the effects of the longevity tree sap towards his left eyeball and the surrounding blood vessels, muscles, and orbital skeleton. Chen Mobai was distracted, and he also activated the method of the void-piercing spiritual eye and began to rapidly absorb the vitality of the longevity tree sap. He didn't know how much time had passed before he raised his head. A blue halo appeared around the pupil of his left eye, like the halo of the sun, making it seem incredibly mysterious. Since the void-piercing spirit eye is the most common spiritual eye technique among immortal sects, and it doesn't even have specific realm divisions, it's only known that it can be continuously improved. Therefore, Chen Mobai didn't know what level his left eye was after he had absorbed some of the longevity tree sap. However, he has a way to verify it. After returning to Wanbao Cave, he went to the place where Mi Yudao had brought him earlier, a sealed artifact sphere. It is a tributary of that underground current. This artifact sphere is said to be a square box. Chen Mobai's eyes shone with a clear, bright light, with his left eye shining with a mysterious and deep blue light as he focused his gaze on the white jade ball at the bottom of the water. Soon, a double vision appeared in his eyes. The right eye is still not visible, only the surface of the white jade has a sheen. However, through the shell and the spiritual liquid, he saw a vague four-dimensional artifact shape that occupied most of the space in the vision of his left eye. It seems that, although the left eye absorbed some of the effects of the longevity tree sap and cultivated the void insight eye to a higher level, it still cannot completely see the true nature of this sealed artifact sphere. His left eye's spiritual eye technique is now probably about the same level as that of the Student Council's Vice President Ming. However, to be precise, they should be at the same level when looking at the artifact sphere containing the water attribute magic weapon. However, Chen Mobai's void-seeing eye can see all types of sealed artifact spheres. To verify this idea, Chen Mobai went to the other 3 sealed artifact spheres that Mi Yudo had shown him. However, he could only see through the fact that one of the seals was a round magical artifact. Although he could see through the outer shell of the other 2 sealed orbs, he could not see their specific shapes. Perhaps because the sealing time was not long, the isolating effect of the spiritual liquid has not been greatly diminished. It seems we still need to find a way to obtain more longevity tree sap to further enhance our void-piercing eyes. Chen Mobai checked the information and found that there were 7 bones in his eye socket. If he had another 6 drops of the sap of the immortal tree, he should be able to upgrade his left eye to its maximum potential. End of this chapter. Chapter 267, 30 drops of immortality tree sap. Chapter 267, 30 drops of immortality tree sap. However, within the entire divine tree sect, only King Zhou possesses the sap of the tree of immortality. Although Chen Mobai only wanted 6 drops, it would be pointless to ask for them so rashly. After all, if you want to cultivate the longevity body, the more longevity tree sap the better. Even Zhou Wangshan himself felt it wasn't enough. Moreover, Chen Mobai and Zhou Wangshan were not familiar with each other. They had only met once at Yue Xudao's place. If Chen Mobai really wanted to buy the sap of the immortal tree, he might need a powerful middleman to step in. After thinking it over, among the people I know, it's Yi Yun who comes to mind. As fellow disciples of the sect leader, they at least have more influence than I do. However, after careful consideration, Chen Mobai decided to give up. These 2 are clearly vying for the position of sect leader. If Yi Yun incurs a favor from King Zhou because of this matter, it will be even more troublesome to repay in the future. Moreover, if Yi Yun is unwilling, the good relationship between Chen Mobai and him may be severed from now on. Chen Mobai would force himself, but he would not force others to do the same for his own sake. If we disregard the sap of the tree of immortality in Zhou Wangshan's hands, then there is only one way left. The mysterious tree realm. Chen Mobai looked at the magical tree in front of him, picked up his phone, and downloaded a water attribute chi cultivation technique called Water Moon Force from the Immortal Sect National Library. After 3 days of diligent practice, he raised his water moon strength to the 4th level of chi refining. Then he infused the newly cultivated water attribute spiritual power into the magic tree. A flash of silver light, and the others had vanished. A quarter of an hour later, he reappeared in front of the magic tree, holding a black fruit. Upon opening the fruit, a drop of crystal-clear, milky white sap from the immortal tree appeared in my palm. Sure enough, this method worked. Seeing this, Chen Mobai clenched his fist in delight. After practicing the black water technique last time, he obtained a drop of longevity tree sap from the magic treasure tree. This time, he used the same trick again, but this time he used a different chi cultivation method, and sure enough, he got the same result. Although there are still many fruits on the magic tree, Chen Mobai deduced that if it encountered weak spiritual power like that of someone at the 3rd or 4th level of chi refining, the magic tree would only give out the minimum amount of fruit. Clearly, while the sap of the longevity tree is comparable in value to rare treasures like the azure wood spirit heart, the azure yang fire, and tree fruits, it requires a whole gourdful to obtain it. When it encountered a chi refining disciple like Chen Mobai, whose cultivation level was low, The magic treasure tree formulaically provided the least valuable item from its treasure trove. That is, a drop of the sap of the immortal tree. It's a pity that 3 days were wasted, and he also lost a drop of spiritual energy from cultivating the black water technique all night. However, after figuring out this basic pattern, Chen Mobai stopped thinking about it. He took out his phone again, this time without wasting points to download from the National Library, because the downloads there were complete Qi cultivation manuals from level 1 to 9, which Chen Mobai didn't need. He found a shop on the Immortal sect network that specializes in wholesaling water attribute cultivation techniques. He spent 50 merit points to buy a whole 100 books, each with only 1 to 3 layers. 1 month later, Chen Mobai looked at the entire glass bottle filled with the sap of the tree of immortality and left the divine tree secret realm with satisfaction. Now that we've found a method, the more the merrier. He directly opened 30 drops of the sap of the immortal tree, intending to refine all 23 bones in his head. To avoid possible mistakes, he prepared an extra amount to avoid losses. Time flies fastest during cultivation. Half a year has passed in the blink of an eye. The annual sect competition of the Shenmu sect has begun as usual. After Chen Mobai established his foundation, he had little interest in such battles between Qi cultivators. However, since his disciple might become a true successor this year, and he hadn't had a chance to get together with his friends Qi Rui and Zai Jinghuo for a long time, he also came to Shenmu City to take a look. Look, senior brother is coming on stage. It was the same restaurant. Chen Mobai sat by the window, with Qi Rui and other friends, as well as Zhu Ming beside him. Since she was eliminated in the first round in previous years, Zhu Ming simply didn't register this year. Chen Mobai let it be, since Liu Wenbai was enough to keep things going, and his little apprentice was good at farming and brewing wine. He has already reached the 9th level of Qi refining, and with a full set of magical artifacts, he is well equipped. Liu Wenbai lived up to expectations and defeated his opponent, advancing to the round before the true master. Greetings, martial uncle. Just as Chen Mobai was about to leave with his 2 apprentices, he ran into 2 acquaintances at the top of the stairs. It was Luo Yixiu and Luo Yixuan, who joined the Shenmu sect with him from Nangxi Market. After leaving Xinjiang, the 2 of them became disciples of a foundation establishment elder from their own family in the Shenmu sect. That elder was the guardian of Lei Kingdom, so the brother and sister also left Giantwood Ridge and have been cultivating in Lei Kingdom ever since. Chen Mobai had almost forgotten about them, but he never expected to run into them here today. It's rare to see old friends again. It's truly remarkable that we're all still alive in this world. Among the disciples who joined the Shenmu sect back then, Chen Mobai remembered that besides his 2 own disciples, the Luo siblings and Yu Lion were the only others. How could I dare to be a friend of my martial uncle? Luo Yixuan, who has blossomed into a beautiful young woman, has fair skin and a lovely appearance. She looks very elegant in her palace-style long dress. She is as pleasant to be around as ever and speaks with humility. On the contrary, Luo Yixiu, who was beside her, looked at Chen Mobai with disbelief and even a hint of resentment in her eyes. Luo Yixiu always believed that among that group of people, if he hadn't gone to Lei Kingdom with his great uncle, he would have become a true disciple 2 years earlier. He never expected that in just 5 years, that rogue cultivator whom he had once looked down upon would have successfully established his foundation. The strict hierarchical system of the Heavenly River realm clashed with Luo Yixiu's own pride. Under Chen Mobai's ambiguous smile and the constant prompting from his younger sister, Luo Yixiu could only lower his head and call Chen Mobai Uncle Master. Did you participate in this year's sect competition? Chen Mobai asked a question. He only paid attention to the sessions of his disciples and a few friends. He usually spent his time refining the sap of the longevity tree and cultivating the void-piercing spirit eye. I participated and I'm lucky. I haven't been eliminated yet. Luo Yixuan answered again. Chen Mobai nodded, thinking that his cultivation time was coming to an end, so he didn't reminisce with them anymore. You can come to Zion Enshin for a visit when you have time. You know Wenbai and Xiuming too." After saying this, Chen Mobai asked his two disciples to stay and chat with the brother and sister, while he left directly. Luo Yixiu watched Chen Mobai's departing figure with a look of resentment on her face. On the contrary, Luo Yixuan spoke gently with Liu Wenbo and Zhu Ming about the past. The next round, which concerned the true transmission of knowledge, was watched by Chen Mobai. Unfortunately, Liu Wenbai was ultimately too inexperienced and encountered a formidable opponent, resulting in his defeat. Chen Mobai was prepared for this. After comforting his eldest disciple for a couple of minutes, he watched Qi Rui and the others perform. This friend, who had failed to become a true disciple several times, finally had a stroke of luck this year. He didn't encounter any formidable opponents and was included in the list of the 24 true disciples. On the contrary, the two brothers, Qi Hu and Zai Jinghuo, were both unfortunately defeated, the former encountering Mu Yuan and the latter encountering Li Yixian from the puppet department. When Chen Mobai looked over at the remaining Luo siblings, he saw them both being defeated one after another. He looked at Luo Yixuan, who had fallen off the stage, lost in thought. This is also worth considering as an investment. Inside the Wanbao cave, Chen Mobai opened his eyes. His eyes shone with a clear, bright light that stood out against the darkness. Looking up, he saw that the hematite sphere buried above his head was as transparent as if it were transparent, and he could see right through it. The broken flying sword inside, with its patterns and the notch in the blade, was clearly visible in his field of vision. Chen Mobai also saw two small characters engraved on the hilt of the sword. Red copper. This must be the name of this flying sword. I checked the campus network and found that more than 200 years ago, a genius in the sword control department had a flying sword with this name. Before this genius passed away, he had also cultivated to the 9th level of foundation establishment. Unfortunately, he didn't have much life left at that time, so he participated in the war of opening up in order to fight for his last chance of survival. Unfortunately, all that was returned by the immortal sect in the end was this broken flying sword. If it is intact, this should be a top-grade 2nd-tier flying sword, even more powerful than the flying sparrow hairpin. Chen Mobai thought to himself, a look of regret on his face. He withdrew his void-piercing eye. According to the description of this technique, this should be the intermediate stage. He's even more powerful than Shi Jin, who has cultivated for a lifetime. Through this incident, Chen Mobai gained a clearer and deeper understanding of the advantages he possessed. In just 6 months, with the help of the sap of the longevity tree, he raised his insightful eyes to a level that even Shi Jin had cultivated for decades. It relies not on talent, nor on understanding, nor on diligence and effort. It's resources. We must maintain this advantage and ensure that we can leverage the resources of the heavenly river realm and the divine tree realm to stay ahead of the immortal sects. After making up his mind, Chen Mobai went to take another look at the 8 artifact-containing orbs that Mi Yudo had found. Zheng Cheng's penetrating spiritual eyes allowed him to see the sealed artifact sphere almost as clearly as the lines on his palm. By comparing the vast amount of information in the treasure map, he recognized the bell-shaped magical artifact as soul-capturing, a mid-grade 2nd-tier artifact designed to target mental attacks. The most valuable item is naturally the pagoda, which is actually a 2nd-tier high-grade defensive magic artifact. If he couldn't find a 3rd-tier magic artifact, Chen Mobai felt that he could use the artifact fragments to open this one. The Jade Tablet book containing the Myriad Treasures map does not contain detailed information, but according to the Student Council's calculations, it should be a rare array artifact. The only problem is that we don't know which formation is sealed inside, so we can't determine its grade or value. Even the void-piercing spirit eye was powerless to do anything about it. The only way to confirm it was by cutting it open. The water-splitting fork was indeed a high-grade 2nd-tier magical artifact, but using such a magical tool required a long period of training, so Chen Mobai was naturally not interested. After examining the 4 sealed artifacts, Chen Mobai then went to look at the 4 sealed artifact spheres. The one in the underground currents had already revealed a clear outline. It was a box. I tried to use my insightful eyes to take a closer look, but it was still a complete mess. As expected, it's still a bit of a stretch to completely see through the dead seal. Chen Mobai was not discouraged. After all, although the effects of the longevity tree sap he had refined into his skull had completely merged with his bone marrow, it had not yet been fully released to permeate his spiritual eyes. After a period of time, his void-piercing spiritual eyes would be able to reach a higher level. Then I went to see the other 3. The circular magical artifact seemed to be a sphere. Chen Mobai searched the treasure map and found 6 similar magical artifacts, but none of them were of the 3rd rank, so he didn't waste his divine sense and spiritual power. The other 2 are a teapot and a flute. Chen Mobai discovered that one of the 3rd-tier magical artifacts was in the shape of a pot, called the Shaluo pot. It absorbed the smoke and fire energy from the depths of the Wanbao cave and released it, which could transform into a 100-foot-long cloud of fire, powerful enough to melt gold and boil stone. There are also 2 third-tier magical artifacts shaped like flutes, but Chen Mobai wasn't interested in the Tao of Sound, so he didn't bother to check the information on the Myriad Treasures map. As for the teapot, we'll come back to see it when our spiritual insight has reached a higher level. If it can be confirmed that it is a 3rd-tier gauze pot, then this is definitely the one to choose. After looking at the 8 artifact spheres, Chen Mobai had a very fresh feeling and wanted to go and see the Death Seal sphere hanging at the Student Council's residence. But as soon as this thought arose, he felt a heaviness in his head. After his void insight eye was upgraded, each activation required more divine sense and spiritual power. He was watching the artifact sphere intensely, and before he knew it, most of his divine sense had been consumed. After setting up the formation on the spot and recovering from meditation, Chen Mobai was about to head to the Wanbao Cave Student Council's residence when a message suddenly came through on his phone. It was Qi Yucheng. They said the arrangements for the Chicheng Dongshan University Alliance exchange meeting were complete and asked him to go over and handle the formalities. I almost forgot about that. Chen Mobai rode the crimson clouds in smoke robe, flying out of the Myriad Treasures cave and arriving at building number 1. In Qi Yucheng's office, besides himself, there was another acquaintance of Chen Mobai. Teacher Bayan, it's been a long time. Bayan Yiking smiled and nodded when he saw Chen Mobai and greeted him. He was a music teacher, and Chen Mobai had not applied for any elective courses in that area. So, in the Taoist Academy, this was the first time the two had met in 5 years since they parted ways in Dangxia City. For the 6,000th anniversary of Chicheng Cave, a very important person from the Immortal Affairs Hall will be coming. In order to make arrangements for the welcome, the Lord of Chicheng Cave invited Teacher Bayan to arrange the program. Since we don't need to trouble 2 people, we've entrusted him with leading our school's team. Qi Yucheng briefly explained the matter, and Chen Mobai's name was naturally included in the list of participants from the Dance Weapon Academy for the Millennium Celebration. Thank you for your trouble, teacher. After saying that, Chen Mobai stood still. He asked to participate himself, so now we can only bite the bullet and join in the fun. Although I am nominally in charge of the team, the student council is actually responsible for managing you students. They may contact you later. Bayan Yiking mentioned it, and Chen Mobai nodded. All right, you can go now. Qi Yucheng seemed to have something to say to Bayan Yiking, and waved to indicate that Chen Mobai could go about his business. End of this chapter. Chapter 268, Fusion of Gods and Return to One. Chapter 268, Fusion of Gods and Return to One. In the days that followed, Chen Mobai waited for the student council to contact him while continuing to grind on the magic item tree. After obtaining the longevity tree sap from the water attribute technique, he then tried to see what kind of low-risk fruits could be obtained from the other 4 attributes of spiritual power. After repeated attempts, the metal elemental energy produced a grain of metal, the wood elemental energy produced a withered leaf, The earth elemental energy produced a clump of soil, and the fire elemental energy produced a spark. Among these, the metal was identified as iron concentrate. This is a second-tier material, which is basically needed for the crafting of most magical artifacts. If refined with alchemical fire, it can even reach the quality of the third rank. When mixed into a flying sword, it can not only increase its power but also improve its rank. Unfortunately, Chen Mobai only obtained a grain-sized amount of iron essence from the fruit. If he wanted to collect enough iron essence, he didn't know how many metal attribute cultivation techniques he would need to practice. The withered leaves are ordinary leaves of the Qingyang spirit tree, which can be used to make talisman paper for second-tier talismans. That clump of soil was quite peculiar, containing powerful vitality, even surpassing the most abundant second-tier fertile fields in Zion and Mountain. He guessed it might be spiritual soil from a third-tier or higher spiritual field. Unfortunately, it was only a thin layer in the palm of his hand, not even enough to plant flowers. Chen Mobai poured this clump into his potted Chinese parasol tree seedling, which he had been growing for several years, and then left it there. Finally, there was that one spark that he found most useful. The spark flickered for a split second as the fruit opened, almost going out. Chen Mobai immediately used his azure sun flame to devour and absorb the spark. Because they were flames of the same origin, they easily merged into one. This spark is also Qingyang fire. However, compared to the flame the size of his fist, this spark was as insignificant as a match being lit. Even a small amount is still Qingyang fire. After absorbing the pure azure energy using the pure azure technique, he felt that his azure yang fire seed had noticeably improved. Chen Mobai roughly estimated that if he could absorb another 100 points of Qingyang fire, then his fire seed should be able to be completely upgraded into Qingyang fire. It should be noted that in the Wanbao cave, he used the pure azure technique to absorb the fire spirit energy of Chicheng Mountain to refine the azure yang fire seed. In 1 year, this was equivalent to refining 5 azure yang fire flowers. A single spark of Qingyang energy could save him more than 2 months of hard work. Looking at the towering magic tree that seemed to reach into the clouds, Chen Mobai's eyes inexplicably lit up. This is truly a treasure tree. Compared to the talent tree, which can only provide cultivation techniques, this magic treasure tree is a huge treasure trove waiting for him to explore. Unfortunately, they are too stingy, always giving only a tiny bit each time. After grumbling in his heart, Chen Mobai practiced the spells from the longevity scripture once more before returning to the Myriad Treasures Cave. Today marks the official end of the semester. Chen Mobai passed all the course exams with high scores and obtained all the credits. In addition, he also got a total of 48 credits from the Sword Control Department. He didn't have the habit of saving up. After exchanging for 2 vermilion fruits that he had long coveted, he used the remaining 8 credits, plus the 2 credits he had left over from the previous years, for a total of 10 credits to exchange for a second-tier rejuvenation pill. This is a product of the alchemy department of the Dance Weapon Academy, specifically designed to heal injuries to the spiritual consciousness. Chen Mobai's divine sense was naturally unharmed, but he had cultivated the divine control technique, and after a year of continuous use of the clear-eye bamboo spirit dew, the other green-tongue seedling that had been transformed from his split divine sense had finally blossomed and borne fruit. This means that the second level of the divine control technique, dividing the spirit into thoughts, has been mastered, and one can now attempt the third level, merging the spirit into one. To be honest, he originally estimated that even with the clear-eye bamboo dew, it would still take 2 years to reach this point. But after refining the sap of the longevity tree into his 23 skulls, he found that his efficiency in cultivating his divine sense had greatly increased. Even with the blessing of the lamp-burning technique, the combination of the clear-eye bamboo dew and the longevity tree sap produced an effect greater than the sum of its parts. Not only did his penetrating spiritual vision become truly profound, but his spiritual strength also reached a level within a year that allowed him to merge with the divine and return to oneness. He searched for advanced tips on this cultivation technique on the auxiliary cultivation software. Among the many recommended elixirs, the rejuvenation pill was mentioned third most often. Fortunately, the Dance Weapon Academy had some in stock, so Chen Mobai directly exchanged one for credits. The other two best elixirs are 5 Ganoderma and 100 Flower Paste, and Heavenly Fragrance 8 Treasure Elixir, both of which are of 3 tiers. Among them, 5 Lingjai and 100 Flower Ointment is the signature product of Jumeng Taoist Temple and Taiyi Medical Palace. It requires 5 kinds of Lingjai that are over 100 years old, plus the essence of 100 different spiritual flowers. It can restore any injury to the spirit, essence, energy, and spirit immediately. The Heavenly Fragrance 8 Treasures Pill is an elixir specifically designed to treat injuries to the spiritual consciousness. Any spiritual problems below the core formation stage can be cured instantly upon taking it, restoring the user to their peak condition immediately. 6 years ago, under the leadership of the head of the alchemy department, the Wuki Dao Academy had opened a furnace to refine pills once, and still had 3 pills in stock. However, after looking at the credits that could be exchanged, Chen Mobai shook his head and gave up. 1 pill of this stuff costs 120 credits. After completing his credits for the year, Chen Mobai immediately handed 2 vermilion fruits to Wang Xingyu, along with the spirit essence, auxiliary medicine, and 2 other bamboo fruits. The latter patted his chest and said that he would definitely be able to refine the clear eye bamboo spirit dew without any poison this time. He's different from 6 months ago, he's experienced now. Chen Mobai simply smiled at this. With the blessing of the burning lamp technique, that slight poisoning was as good as nothing to him. This year, he naturally did not return to Danxia City. After calling his parents, maternal grandfather, and other relatives, Chen Mobai found a place in Wanbao Cave to set up a restriction, and then teleported to the Divine Tree secret realm. In this small world where he was all alone, Chen Mobai sat beneath the towering magic tree and took the rejuvenation pill. 3 days later, he opened his eyes, a hint of regret flashing in them. The rejuvenating pill was indeed quite effective, but unfortunately, it was still not potent enough to completely merge his 2 separated divine consciousnesses into one. If we had just 1 more seed, we would definitely succeed. Even so, he had already integrated most of it. After using the power of the rejuvenating pill to complete the initial stage, the rest was just a matter of patience and perseverance. The difficulty of the divine art was somewhat beyond his expectations, but the results were also quite astonishing. His divine sense increased by a full 1.6 times. When he used the searching heaven and earth technique, obtained from the talent tree, the range that his divine sense could cover after leaving his body expanded from a radius of 12 meters to 20 meters. He felt that if he could fully integrate, he should be able to reach 30 meters. Chen Mobai began to look forward to that day. After completing his first fusion with the divine essence, he was able to cultivate the divine slash. This move is a sure kill against those whose cultivation level is lower than yours. As soon as he returned to Wanbao Cave and habitually checked his phone, a look of joy suddenly appeared on his face. Ming Yihua has successfully completed his foundation building. His good friend had spent almost the entire year in seclusion, and with the help of various conditions, he finally emerged from seclusion at the end of the year in high spirits. As the second person in the nascent soul class to successfully establish a foundation, he was even more flamboyant than Chen Mobai. When he invited people to drink, he was incredibly enthusiastic and in high spirits, almost as if he had posted notices in all the teaching buildings of the academy. This year, 4 more people in the transformation class have comprehended the critical principle: Gong Ranren, Li Ziming, Fan Yuanpu, and Jin Shuwei. Those who dare to cultivate the nascent soul technique, apart from those with special abilities like Chen Mobai, are all exceptionally talented and extremely confident in themselves. Being able to comprehend the critical technique in the 5th grade is above the average level of the academy. After being provoked by this, They immediately declared that they would go into seclusion upon returning home, and would not come to drink the wine at this time next year if they did not achieve foundation establishment. Last year, another cultivator of the critical method, Lan Yufan, sat in a corner, silently drinking without saying a word. He could have remained calm without Ming Yihua's success, but now he's getting a little anxious. He glanced at his girlfriend Lu Zixuan beside him, and thought that their relationship might be affecting his cultivation progress. Just then, Ming Yihua, looking smug, levitated and slowly took flight, demonstrating the unique flying technique of a foundation establishment cultivator. Finally, the crowd, unable to bear it any longer, pulled him down and took turns getting him drunk. Besides Ming Yihua, there was another student in the 5012 cohort who successfully completed the foundation establishment stage this semester. However, that person was not in the small group of the nascent soul class. It was Zhai Jianbai from the sword control department. He was a true sword genius and also practiced diligently. After serving as a teaching assistant for a year, his foundation was perfected. He held his sword on the training ground for 7 days. The moment he opened his eyes, his gaze was like a shooting star, indicating that he had successfully established his foundation. After the year-end gathering of the nascent soul class, Chen Mobai returned to his cabin off campus, giving himself a rare day to relax. That night, as he was looking at the book on the underworld array, a clear, melodious voice, sweet as honey and melodious, suddenly came from above him. Chen Mobai closed his eyes, captivated by the heart-stirring opera singing. Speaking of which, he and Meng Huanger had been neighbors for 5 years since he enrolled in the Dance Weapon Academy, but this was the first time he had enjoyed the heavenly voice of this big star. It must be said that the voice of this musical genius, who was chosen by the upper echelons of the immortal sects to cultivate the divine song, is indeed captivating and extremely pleasant. After a long while, the clear sound in his ears dissipated, and Chen Mobai, feeling refreshed and relaxed, opened his eyes, feeling an unprecedented ease and comfort in his mind. His face was beaming with joy. The third level of the divine control technique, merging with the divine and returning to one, has surprisingly completed another stage of progress amidst this opera-style song. If I could listen to it a few more times, maybe it would be perfect. Involuntarily, Chen Mobai recalled his dream when he first saw the Jade Phoenix opera troupe perform. Every day, I listened to Meng Huanger sing to me. 5 years ago, I rented this wooden house not only because it was secluded, but also partly because of this reason. Unfortunately, in the past 5 years, I have been busy acquiring foundation establishment pills during the qi refining stage, and then busy acquiring resources to cultivate various spells after foundation establishment. Only now have I barely begun to realize this dream. Chen Mobai took out his phone. After he reached the foundation establishment stage, he had a chance encounter with Meng Huanger, who had added him as a friend. "Senior Meng, your rendition of Lin Jiangxian was truly beautiful." I tentatively sent a message praising her. However, 2 minutes passed without any response. Just when Chen Mobai thought the big star might not have seen it, he silently calculated that the time was almost up, and Meng Huanger, who could no longer be reserved, finally replied. A beeping sound rang out. "Thank you, are you down the mountain?" "Hey there. My good buddy successfully reached foundation establishment today. He had a few drinks and decided not to go back to the Myriad Treasures Cave to cultivate, so he's resting here for the night." Chen Mobai had an innate talent for chatting with women, and the two quickly began chatting back and forth for over half an hour. Meng Huanger expressed her envy for her juniors who had successively reached the foundation establishment stage. As a 7th grade senior, she had not yet grasped the critical principle and dared not take that step. Chen Mobai immediately comforted her, saying that with her talent, it was only a matter of time. Then he wanted to share some of his insights and tips on understanding the critical method, but then he realized that it seemed he had only grasped it through drugs and had no real insights. "Never mind, let's change the subject." Chen Mobai mentioned that he had met Meng Huanger's teacher, Bian Yiking, in Qi Yucheng's office not long ago. Bayan Yiking was in charge of leading the students of Wuki Daeyuan to participate in the Chicheng Dongshan University Alliance exchange meeting this year, and he was fortunate enough to be a member of this team. Meng Huinger, I'll be performing on stage during the Millennium Celebration, and I'm also on the Academy's roster. So, does that mean we're teammates? The topic shift was very successful, and Meng Huinger immediately started talking about how hard she worked during rehearsals and tour. When she first enrolled, she was distracted because she had not yet completed her qi cultivation. She had to juggle her studies, cultivation, and tour the country to help people awaken their spirituality, which resulted in her failing 2 elective courses. She was ridiculed by her classmates for a long time. Once the topic was started, Meng Huinger didn't need Chen Mobai to guide her. She was like a chatterbox that had been automatically turned on. She stopped typing and sent long voice messages. Chen Mobai clicked on it, and upon hearing her clear and melodious voice, a satisfied expression appeared on his face. The next morning, he planned to visit his neighbor on the mountain, whom he had known for 5 years, and ask about Meng Huinger's singing and vocal practice habits so he could keep watch on time from now on. Before they even stepped outside, a beam of red light descended from the sky. This little wooden house had never been visited by a Foundation establishment cultivator before. Early in the morning, Chen Mobai almost thought he was in Xianshan. Upon closer inspection, it was discovered that it was Ming Yihua. After sobering up, he came running over excitedly, saying he wanted to go see Wanbao Cave. Unlike Chen Mobai, who had accumulated over 100 credits in 5 years at the academy and met the requirements, he did not. However, since his mentor Qin Baikan was still in seclusion, Ming Yihua could only come to find Chen Mobai, his senior brother, who had been staying at Wanbao Cave for a year. Since his good brother rarely needed his help, Chen Mobai had no choice but to reluctantly give up his plan to visit the neighbor and instead take him to Wanbao Cave to familiarize himself with the place. End of this chapter. Chapter 269, Xunyang Cauldron. Chapter 269, Xunyang Cauldron. Coincidentally, Ming Yihua's foundation building time was excellent. It was the end of the semester, and the foundation establishment students who had been diligently cultivating in Wanbao Cave for a year would open their nascent soul orbs at this time every year. However, Ming Yihua was unlucky. Because Master Shaoyang was still in seclusion, no one took him to the depths of the Wanbao Cave to retrieve the highest-level access token belonging to a newly established foundation establisher from Duanmu Longrong. However, as a weapon refiner, Ming Yihua became fascinated with the weapon-containing ball after hearing about it from Chen Mobai. Although it was a pity there were no instruments, he was already extremely lucky to be able to come in and take a look. "You're too slow." Chen Mobai, who was waiting at the tunnel entrance, saw Ming Yihua descending from the sky late in the morning and couldn't help but complain. Ming Yihua could have easily descended on his crimson cloud silk robe, but having just established his foundation and not yet had his fill of flying, he insisted on flying himself, wasting a great deal of time. Ming Yihua, who had underestimated the altitude of Wanbao Cave, flew here and looked a little pale. How was I supposed to know that flying would consume so much spiritual energy? After falling into the tunnel, Ming Yihua sat down with a thud, took a breath, and immediately began to refine the rich fire spiritual energy here. Chen Mobai could only wait for him with a helpless expression, but this was also a good opportunity to observe the phenomena of the Pure Yang Scroll Foundation establishment. Although it wasn't easy to see directly with the insightful eyes, he still gained quite a bit from observing the surrounding spiritual energy swarming into Ming Yihua's 7 orifices. In fact, Chen Mobai had already accumulated enough pure yang spiritual power. If he were to choose to directly establish his foundation, he would have a 99% chance of success. However, in order to wait for the opportunity to establish his foundation, he suppressed his desire. Having witnessed Ming Yihua's Pure Yang Scroll Foundation building chapter in operation, and comparing it with my own usual understanding, I have vaguely come to some conclusions. Let's go. Half an hour later, Ming Yihua, having recovered most of her spiritual power, stood up in high spirits. Chen Mobai led him through the tunnel, across the underground currents, and soon arrived at the underground cave plaza where the student council was located. Compared to the sparse population of the past, there are now 60 or 70 people. They are all true cultivators at the foundation establishment stage. There were many people setting up stalls, displaying sealed artifact spheres. Chen Mobai spotted a familiar face, Hong Yu, the senior student who had greeted him when he enrolled. If I remember correctly, she should have already graduated. Senior, what a coincidence. Upon meeting, they naturally greeted each other. Hong Yu recognized Chen Mobai and responded cheerfully. It's you. I really didn't expect that you would be the first one in your class to reach the foundation establishment stage. Senior is wrong. Zhongli Tianyu is the first one. Chen Mobai was quite modest. Compared to Zhongli Tianyu, who broke through realms as easily as drinking water after entering the academy, he was merely an average person. You're still so modest. By the way, you two are both newly established foundation establishment cultivators. You must have some artifact fragments, right? I know of 2 sealed artifact orbs. Would you like them? Hong Yu caught the last train in her 10th grade, successfully establishing her foundation. She then applied for an extension of her graduation and is now a teaching assistant for the Spirit Flower Cultivation course under the Spirit Plant Department. For foundation establishment cultivators, there is plenty of time outside of classes, and the spiritual energy in the Myriad Treasures Cave is abundant, so most of their cultivation time is spent here. Having found 2 sealed artifact spheres, Hong Yu, who didn't have enough credits herself, decided to come and see if anyone needed them. She is not a trading instrument ball. After all, the artifact fragments are the most important thing. Therefore, if you receive information from the other party and find something good in the Wanbao Cave, you will need to transfer a certain amount of merit as an information fee afterwards. If you get something ordinary, such as the lowest grade Tier 2 low-quality item, or a defective item, then you can only consider yourself unlucky. Generally speaking, to obtain a mid-grade second-tier magic weapon, one needs to transfer a symbolic 10,000 merit points. A perfectly intact second-grade magic weapon costs 100,000 merit points for information. However, if the information fee is for a third-tier magic weapon, it would be over 1,000,000. However, it has been nearly 20 years since any magic artifacts of the 3rd rank were obtained from the Wanbao Cave. The sealed artifact sphere cannot be moved, so an information provider is needed to take it there. Chen Mobai and Ming Yihua were both very interested, but they hadn't finished exploring all the stalls in the square yet, so the 3 of them agreed to go back and take a look when they had time in a few days. It seems the student council is going to open a sealed artifact sphere around noon, so don't miss it. After adding the contact information of the 2 foundation establishment juniors, Hong Yu shared some news. Chen Mobai led Ming Yihua to browse the stalls for the dead sealed artifact spheres, which were much simpler to make than the live sealed ones. If you find something you like, as long as you can reach an agreement, you can transfer it directly. After that, no matter what you offer, there will be no need to pay any transfer fees. Although the artifact-containing orbs belonged to the Dance Artifact Academy before they were opened, it was tacitly accepted that the students would receive a fee for their hard work in digging them up from various parts of the Myriad Treasures Cave. Chen Mobai stopped at another acquaintance's stall. Oh, is this also a new junior? Mi Yudao looked at Ming Yihua and asked curiously. That's right, my good brother here is the top student in our weapon crafting department this year. Chen Mobai nodded and introduced Ming Yihua. The latter was not flamboyant in front of outsiders and introduced himself very humbly. Interested? I have 4 dead sealing artifact orbs here. Mi Yudao pointed to the white jade ball on his stall, indicating that Ming Yihua could reach out and play with it. As for Chen Mobai, he had already read them all. However, when Ming Yihua curiously picked up a weapon-containing ball to examine it, Mi Yudao said that he had found another sealed weapon-containing ball in the past 6 months, which was under the roots of a fire spirit tree. Oh, there are even spiritual plants in this treasure cave. Chen Mobai was quite curious after hearing this. The longevity scripture he is currently cultivating happens to be a wood-based technique. If he could unlock a third-tier wood attribute magic weapon, that would be an excellent thing. The Myriad Treasures Cave is the #1 fire spirit vein in the immortal sect. Apart from the vermilion fruit tree, this fire spirit tree is the only one that can survive here. However, this tree cannot bear fruit and can only be used to regulate fire poison. Since it is stored under its roots, I deduce that it is probably not a wood attribute magic artifact, but a fire attribute one. Yudo, however, relied on his experience and made a guess that differed from Chen Mobai's. That makes sense. Ming Yihua, standing to the side, offered his judgment, concluding that Yudo was correct. He is a second-tier weapon refiner and a second-tier treasure appraiser. If he hadn't been busy with Foundation establishment this year, he would have been preparing to take the third-tier exam. Chen Mobai trusted his good friend's professional competence. If it's fire attribute, Chen Mobai is even more interested. Have you had someone take a look at it? With you, why would I need to find someone else? Miyudao shook his head. Chen Mobai helped him see things with his spiritual eyes for free, and every credit he could save was a credit. Once the sealed artifact sphere opens today, we'll go take a look. After making the appointment, Chen Mobai led Ming Yihua to browse the other stalls selling sealed artifact spheres. The prices were found to be very confusing, ranging from low to high. Since they were all students, the student council seemed too lazy to care about these things, so some were asking for a high price of 800,000 merits, while the lowest was only 10,000 merits. Chen Mobai put on the black-rimmed glasses that concealed the spiritual light emitted when the void eye was activated, and picked up the artifact ball priced at 800,000. This artifact-containing sphere is quite strange compared to others. It seems that the magical artifact sealed inside is rather large, so the general outline can be faintly seen on the surface of the white jade shell. It looks like a cauldron. After taking a look, Ming Yihua hesitated and said something. Chen Mobai nodded. Through his insightful eyes, he easily saw through the inside of the sealed artifact sphere, which turned out to be a three-legged, two-eared cauldron-shaped magical artifact. The ding has always been one of the most popular shapes among ritual implements. It can be used for alchemy and weapon crafting, as well as a defensive magic weapon. Occasionally, it can also be used for attack. When setting up an array, it can also serve as the array eye, making it an all-around magic weapon. Ming Yihua himself possessed a second-grade low-level cauldron-shaped magic artifact, which was the work that helped him pass the second-grade weapon refiner assessment. This sealed artifact sphere of mine has a certain probability of yielding a third-tier flame dragon cauldron, so the price of 800,000 merit points is not low at all. The speaker was a young man with slightly yellow skin, who was extremely confident in his own potential weapon. Too expensive. There are at least 80 or 100 cauldron-shaped magical artifacts sealed in the Myriad Treasures Cave. This sealed artifact sphere might have been sealed for a long time, and the nourishing spiritual liquid inside has started to lose its effectiveness, which is why the power of the artifact has leaked out. Chen Mobai immediately started bargaining. After all, he had spent a lot of time in the market, and his skillful bargaining left Ming Yihua, who was standing next to him, stunned. HMPH, a flat price of 800,000. If you don't open it, plenty of others will. At least my sealed artifact ball can open the cauldron. The slightly yellow-skinned youth was impatient, and at this moment, 2 Foundation establishment cultivators came over, wanting to see the most expensive sealed artifact sphere in the square, so they began to talk impatiently. Why don't you just say it's a 4th-order true dragon cauldron? Chen Mobai shook his head. The moment he touched it, he felt a warmth that was different from other artifact spheres. He could also faintly feel the power of the artifact, as if even the seal could not stop it. Senior, I'm a freshman who just established my foundation this year. I need to open a weapon-containing orb. Yours is pretty good. Why don't you give it to me? Ming Yihua said something with a grin that almost made the slightly sallow-faced young man blush. Compared to the artifact fragments that others exchange for 100 credits, the artifact fragments issued to new Foundation establishment cultivators by Duanmu Longrong have the highest authority in the Myriad Treasures Cave, allowing them to open any artifact-containing sphere here. Therefore, unless the young man with a slightly yellow complexion also takes out a fragment and decides to open this special sealed artifact sphere himself, the newly established Foundation establishment cultivator can directly obtain this artifact sphere. After all, the entire treasure trove's artifact sphere belongs to the Tao Academy. It was already against regulations to set up a stall here and sell sealed artifact orbs, but the Academy just didn't bother to care. Ming Yihua learned about this matter during his conversation with Mi Yudo, so when he saw the young man with a slightly sallow complexion asking for such a high price and having a bad attitude, he deliberately said that, "Young men, it wasn't easy for me to earn this good deed, so please do me a favor." It was only then that the slightly yellow-skinned youth realized that Chen Mobai and Ming Yihua were complete strangers, and this was the first time he had seen them here. He was now almost certain they were indeed newly minted Foundation establishment cultivators, and immediately began to beg for mercy with a wry smile. "I think you might want to keep the price of 800,000 good deeds for yourself." Although Chen Mobai and Ming Yihua could use the rules of the Tao Academy to forcibly open the artifact-containing sphere, doing so might be resisted by many senior Foundation establishment cultivators, so they only talked about it and did not actually do it. After setting down the artifact sphere that sealed the cauldron-shaped magical artifact, the two began browsing the other stalls. "I have a feeling that the cauldron must be something valuable." After walking a distance, Ming Yihua secretly told Chen Mobai, who was slightly startled, thinking that he, as a professional, had seen something that Chen Mobai did not know. "I'm a pure Yang Foundation establishment cultivator. The moment I touched it, I felt a warm sensation on my arm, and my pure Yang spiritual energy became slightly more active. It might be a fire attribute magic weapon that's very suitable for our lineage." "You want to drive it?" "I have that plan, but isn't Master Shaeyong in seclusion? I haven't gotten my hands on that artifact fragment yet." After Ming Yihua finished speaking, Chen Mobai remained silent for a moment, and then he led the former directly into the 3-story villa of the student council. This time, it wasn't the familiar Lu Tianxuan on duty, but another fair-skinned, smiling boy with squinted eyes. Chen Mobai brought Ming Yihua here, naturally intending to use the treasure map. "I can see the shape of that cauldron with my insightful eyes. If you want to open it, you'd better search for it in the treasure map first. Maybe you'll find the answer." Since Ming Yihua has such an idea, Chen Mobai will definitely give it his full support. Ming Yihua could afford the 2-credit search fee. The two looked at all the cauldron-shaped magical artifacts found by the treasure map and checked them one by one. Finally, Chen Mobai identified a second-tier high-grade magical artifact, the Xuan Yang Cauldron. The search revealed that the previous owner of this magical artifact was also a practitioner of the pure Yang scroll, and a master who had cultivated to the 8th level of Foundation establishment. Unfortunately, he was ultimately trapped in the pure Yang Dharma body, and his lifespan was exhausted, preventing him from forming the golden core. No wonder Ming Yihua felt a reaction from the pure Yang spiritual energy when he touched it. Having understood this, the two felt more confident. A second-tier high-grade magic weapon is quite good. Given that no third-tier magic weapons have been found in the past 20 years, Ming Yihua would definitely be willing to use his own fragment to try and open one. However, he was somewhat reluctant to spend an additional 800,000 merits. "Although we could use the Academy's rules to force it open, let's try to negotiate if possible." Just as the two were about to leave, the squinty-eyed boy from the student council called out to them, "Are you two the new Foundation establishers this year?" "Yes. I really like the Xuan Yang Cauldron. How about you give it to me?" Upon hearing his words, both Chen Mobai and Ming Yihua frowned. End of this chapter.